गौरवाणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्व वैदिक सत्फल सर्व सिद्धांत रत्नाद्य सर्व लौकिक दृक्पद सर्व भागवत प्राण श्रीमद् भागवतो प्रभु कलिदंतोतितादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाथाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वद सर्वसेवाय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तुते मद एक बंधु मद संगीन मद गुरुन मद महादना मद निस्तारक मन भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधु तादाइन अति नीच ताकरा हा ना मुंचा कदाचिन माम प्रेम न हृत कंथयो स्फुरः। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी श्रृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तनम हृदयन्तस्तु अभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्णा। Okay, so thank you all so much for joining. Nice to see all of you. If possible, please turn on your video cameras so we can have a more one-to-one discussion. Thank you so much. Okay. Is my voice okay like every time because I changed the microphone?
Yeah, it's clear, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay, so let's start. So today we are going to discuss third canto, chapter 2 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this chapter is I mentioned last time, the very devotional, very like all chapters of Bhagavatam devotional, but very sweet, revealing the sweetness of Krishna, the wonderful pastimes of Krishna, and then it actually ends with the Vraj Leela, the pastimes in Vrindavan. Right. So this chapter is. Let's pull up my notes. Okay, so this chapter is divided into 5 sections. So we start off with the first section, which is going to talk about Uddhav's ecstasy. So what happened in the previous chapter at the end? Who remembers? After Vidura. Okay, so let's see. Any points from the previous chapters? I'd like to bring a few points from chapter 1 of the third canto.
Vidura, he pointed out that the devotee is the sincere well-wisher for all living entities. When he said that he laments for Dhritarashtra, who drove him out.
Okay.
Despite that, he still wished him well.
Okay, and that's a good point. Okay. And then after that, okay, so first entire episode of the third canto first chapter was basically about this entire episode that led to Vidura's leaving and going for traveling for pilgrimage. And then we read about how Vidura traveled at different places. And then when he came to the banks of Yamuna, whom did he actually meet? Uddhav, right? He met Uddhav. And then when he met Uddhav, then he actually, we see the exchange between Vidura and Uddhav. And then similar to first canto, where we see when Arjun came back from Dwarka, Yudhishthir actually asked him different questions that, because Vidura already had a hint that, at Prabhas Kshetra, when he was traveling through Prabhas Kshetra, that the Yadus are actually departed. He already got the hint, but still he could not believe that, oh, this can be true. And hence he actually started off by asking whom? How is Krishna and Balaram actually doing? And we said that this is more than a practical question, more than emotional question that Vidura is actually bringing because he's feeling separation. He asked, and then, yes, last time's whole class was we were discussing about all these different personalities that Vidura asked. He asked for Krishna Balaram, he asked for Pradyumna, Aniruddha, And then Yashoda, he asked for Vasudev, all these different personalities. Kunti, how is she doing? And then he ended with asking for all the 5 Pandavas, right? Yudhishthir, Arjun, Bhim, Nakul, Sahadev, how are they doing? And after that entire thing where he asked this questions that how are all these personalities doing, he actually said, I only lament for Dhritarashtra, right? Because everyone else, they are actually devotees of the Lord, they are associates of the Lord, by simply lament for Dhritarashtra. And then the end of the chapter, actually, Vidura brings up the point. He actually talks of 2 reasons for the Lord's appearance, and then he ends with, please, Kirtaya Tirtha Kirte. You remember this point? Tirtha Kirte, that he traveled to all the holy places. And he said, yes, I went to all the holy places. I took bath in all the holy rivers, right? In all these holy places. But now I want you to give me the real bath. What is that? Please bathe me in Hari Katha. Because that is the purpose of traveling to all the places of pilgrimage, is to actually bathe in the nectar of Hari Katha. And he's saying, Uddhav, you please shower that nectar upon me, and hence my traveling to all pilgrimage will actually become successful, right? So that's how the first chapter ends. And second chapter, we see after Uddhav being asked this question, right? So the first 7 verses of this chapter, or 6 verses, sorry, 6 verses is actually going to describe Uddhav's ecstasy. After hearing these questions, does Uddhav immediately start to speak? Okay, so what happens at that time? And that actually reveals Uddhav's glories. You know, whenever we see this in Bhagavatam, whenever 2 speakers, they start speaking, what happens? Glorification of the person who's asking the question and the glorification of the person who is giving the answer. So we already read the glorification of Vidura, because that entire episode about how he was kicked out of palace, that is actually a glorification of Vidura, right? How he actually took that opportunity to turn to Krishna, and how he was not disturbed by the whole thing. And now we'll read about the glorification of Uddhav, right? So they're the first 6 verses. And then it is described, Uddhav actually starts off by speaking of the unfortunate situation of the Yadavas. Right? So because Vidura has actually asked, mainly he's asked about all the Yadavas. How are the different Yadavas doing? So he starts off by explaining about the unfortunate situation of the Yadavas. Okay, and that's text 7 through 11. Then the third section is actually, it talks about the beauty of Lord Shri Krishna. That is text 12 to 14. And then it talks about Lord's mercy and his bewildering activities. That is 15 to 24. And the chapter ends with Vraj Leela. That's the pastimes of Lord in Vrindavan. Okay, 1 minute. Let me just quickly share my screen. Let's see. Okay, so everyone ready to start with chapter 2? Any comments up to this point? Anyone would like to share any points before we start? Okay. I'm just trying to share my screen here. Okay, so we see this. These are the 5 sections, right? So Uddhav's exalted position, text 1 to 6. Then text 7 to 11, he talks of unfortunate situation of the Yadus. Why are they considered unfortunate? So that entire text discussion. Then 12 to 14 talks of Uddhav's remembrance of the beauty of the Lord, right? And then 16 to 24, Lord's bewildering activities. And then the last section, 25 to 34, is the pastimes in Vrindavan. So just like a quick synopsis of the pastimes, he talks of Kaliya, Govardhan Leela, and ends with Ras Leela pastime. And that is this chapter 2. Very sweet chapter. Okay. So let's start with text number 1. So I think the list is there on the chat, right? Yeah. Okay. So
Vishuka Uvacha Iti Bhagavata Prishta Kshatra Vartam Priyashrayam Prativaktumna Chodseha Otkantyat Smariteshvaraha.
okay, who's first on the list?
Translation. Sri Uddhava said, therefore Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Sri Baladeva, and to please their parents, they dragged Kamsa.
First verse, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I went to chapter 3. Chapter 2, sorry. Sri, it's Canto 3, chapter 2, verse 1, right?
Yes, yes.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, when the great devotee Uddhava was asked by Vidura to speak on the message of the dearest Lord Krishna, Uddhava was unable to answer immediately due to the excessive anxiety at the remembrance of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
So here is basically saying, okay, just like a prelude to the section of Uddhav's ecstasy and answering the questions. So he says, Iti Bhagavata Prishta. Right now we see this word Bhagavata. Bhagavata here referring to not Bhagwan, but Bhagavata. We say like even in first canto, second chapter, we say two Bhagavatas, right? One is Srimad Bhagavata and other is a devotee Bhagavata. So Iti Bhagavata Prashna. When this pure devotee, Uddhav, has actually, great devotee Uddhav has asked the question, and who's Vidura, the great devotee Vidura has asked this question. Shatra is Vidura. Then Vartam Priyashrayam. So the word Priya Ashrayam, it's a beautiful word, regarding the dearest Lord. So that itself gives us a hint that now they are talking about Krishna, who is so dear to their heart, right? So Sukadeva Goswami has not said Krishna, he's actually saying Priya Ashrayam, the one who's so dear to everyone, the one who's so dear to us. So we are going to talk about regarding the dearest Prativaktum to reply. Right? So he's going to reply about the dearest Lord Shri Krishna. And then it says, Prativaktum na chotse. So he was going to reply, but na chotse. He was unable to reply. Why? Outkantyat samari teshwaraha. So smarita means remembrance. Outkanthayat. Okay, if anyone remembers 5 bonus points, where did we read this word before? Outkanthayat. Anyone remembers?
Brahmaji in the 9th chapter, second line.
Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you. So in Brahma to Narada, he actually says, after he gives answers to Narada's 6 questions, he actually says, Na bharati me anga mrishopalakshate, na vaikachin me manasa mrishagrahi, na me rishikani patanti asatpate, yan me hridaya outkantayat. So same word, outkantaya dritohari. And Brahma actually, what's the point he's saying, Narada? Narada, I have actually given you all these answers, and take it from me that because I have actually I have taken the Lord lotus feet in my heart, whatever I am going to speak is without any flaw. Whatever I am actually so na bharati me anga. So what I am saying is the truth. Then second, na me kwachin me manasa misho gati. Then whatever I am thinking, my thoughts are not deviated. Na me rishikani patanti asatpate. My senses will not fall into maya, because I am holding on to the lotus feet of the Lord. So here the word outkantayat, Prabhupada translates as excessive anxiety, and this shows Uddhav's love for Krishna. That Uddhav, up to this point, one may say that because he was, feeling the separation from Lord Shri Krishna, he was actually almost in like a faint condition, like almost in faint, because he was like so much separation from Krishna, he was in faint, almost like fainted, But when Vidura actually asked these questions, then Uddhav is actually one way coming out of that faint, So he began to remember the Lord when his fainting was broken by the loud questions of Vidura. Right, so his fainting was broken at this point when all the questions were come, and then because these questions, and we'll come further to this point, these questions act as something which is known as udipana. So in Nectar of Devotion, that is this word udipana. Udipana means anything that's connected to Krishna that actually gives one an intense remembrance of Krishna. So for these devotees, like the advanced devotees, they may see, like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see this, what's the name of this person? Anyway, Anyway, so this person, he actually just saw the peacock fan, and as soon as he saw the peacock fan, he actually went into ecstasy. Who am I talking about?
Ramananda.
No.
Pundlik Vidyanidhi.
Who's that?
Pundlik Vidyanidhi, Prabhuji.
I'm forgetting. Anyway, so there is this devotee, this pastime is there, where he actually, he was a doctor and he was to the king. Anyway, I'll find out the name. But anyway, so
Murari Gupta.
I don't think it was more good. Anyway, so we'll come back. So let's not just keep guessing. Okay, so basically when he saw just the peacock feather, and the fan made of peacock, he was used to fan the king at that time. Just by seeing that, he went into ecstasy. He went into ecstasy. And the king asked, what happened? And he said, no, I have this disease and that's why I went. But he said, no, there is something deeper here, right? So that Udipana, so Vidura's questions served as an Udipana to Uddhav, where his intensity of remembering Krishna went into so much ecstasy that he could not speak. And hence it says, Na chota seya. He could not speak because of that excessive remembrance of the Lord. So he was already in a state of like faint, feeling the separation, but these questions actually increase that ecstasy, right? So that's the point, right? And due to excessive anxiety at the remembrance of the Lord, he could not remember. He could not speak. Okay, text 2.
Ya pancha hayano matra pratur ashaya yachitaha tannaichat arachayan yasya saparyam bala leelaya.
He was one who, even in his childhood, at the age of 5 years, was so absorbed in the service of Lord Krishna that when he was called by his mother for morning breakfast, he did not wish to have it.
Yeah, so even at the age of 5, Pancha Hayanaha. So now Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying Uddhav and saying that even when he was 5 years old, even 5 years old. So what do 5-year-old boys normally do? They are playing with different toys, and then their focus is what? Eating, right? So we have these different stages of existence, right? The first one, when we, in our initial stage, what is it? Our consciousness is what level? Annamoya, right? All we are concerned is where is food, where is chocolate, where is ice cream, where is this? And that's our consciousness. And what was Uddhav's consciousness? At 5 years old, Matra, his mother, Pratha Ashaya, she used to call, oh, Uddhav, come, it's time for breakfast, right? And what was Uddhav's reaction? Yachitaha, na, right? He did not come. Why? Because he was so absorbed in what? In the service of Lord Shri. Rachayan yasya saparyam, service. So he was so absorbed in the service of Lord Shri Krishna that he actually did not even come for breakfast. So absorbed that he forgot even eating, right? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that this word Bala Leelaya means he was actually worshipping the form of the Lord. So he actually had a form of Krishna, and he used to actually use articles of worship that he himself made. Like, a small diya, a small this one. He used to use, and he used to actually dress the Lord. He used to actually decorate the Lord, serve the Lord. And then when his mother used to call, said, no, mother, abhi my puja is not over. My puja is not over, right? So in that way, he used to actually so absorb in the absorption in the service of the Lord, right? So yeah, so the first point here is like, normally children at that age, they are at Annamoya consciousness, that is, they're just absorbed in food. But here, Uddhav's consciousness was totally different, right? Okay. Now, Prabhupada in the purport points out that from his very birth, Uddhav was a natural devotee or a Nitya Siddha or liberated soul, right? So Prabhupada is actually making this point that, children who are, they grow as even at such an early age, they are so absorbed in worshipping Krishna, for sure, from their previous life, they are actually Nitya Siddha or pure devotees of the Lord, right? So, right, so you should engage in dressing, feeding, worshipping the Lord, right? And Prabhupada says this is actually the natural instinct of every jiva, right? Is actually to have that devotion. Human life is meant for reviving one's eternal relationship with the Lord, and An eternally liberated soul is a devotee of the Lord who never forgets the Lord, right? So these are signs of a eternally liberated soul, right? So basically, Prabhupada is making the point that Uddhav is actually a natural devotee of the Lord. He's not like us. He's a Nitya Siddha, right? So there's Sadhana Siddha and Nitya Siddha. The Nitya Siddha are those who are actually eternally liberated souls. They come down to this material world just to assist with Lord Krishna's pastimes. Okay, just to assist with, yeah, Mukunda. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Mukunda fainted when he actually saw the peacock. Thank you. What was I saying? Yeah. So these Nitya Siddha devotees, they come down here just to assist with Lord Krishna. They are not subjected to karma like how each one of us is subjected. We are forced to take birth, but these Nitya Siddha devotees, they actually just appear to assist in Lord Krishna's pastimes. Right? Okay, and Prabhupada says, we all have this natural instinct of love for Krishna. Right. So if you see, this question that comes again and again about, devotees discuss about like, oh, did we fall from the spiritual world, or did we come from Karnadaksha Vishnu? All these, discussions go on. But you see in Prabhupada's purport, like how many times he actually quotes this verse, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kavana Shravanadi Shrudicha Koroyoda. That actually that love for Krishna is already there in everyone's heart. And the purpose of human form of life is to just reawaken that love. So it is already there, and Prabhupada is making that point here, right? So quicker we actually awaken, the sooner we awaken the love, the quicker our mission of life is actually fulfilled. Our mission of life is to just reawaken that love in the core of our heart. Okay. The next point that Prabhupada is actually making in the purport, he quotes Bhagavad Gita 6:41. Right? Prapya punya kritam lokam usitsa shashvata samha suchidam shrimatam gehe yoga brasta vichayate. So one kind of people who from their childhood are attracted to Krishna are the Nitya Siddhas. The second class is those who actually, in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjun asked this question, what happens to one person who actually takes to devotional service, but who is actually unable to complete that process in this lifetime? Does he lose both in the material sphere and in the spiritual sphere? What happens to such a person, right? And then what does Krishna reply? Krishna's response is, whatever devotional service we do, that is our eternal benefit. And those who actually fall only after a little progress, they are actually promoted to the higher planetary systems. But those who actually perform a prolonged process of devotion, and then they fall down, then they take birth in either a righteous family of devotees, or rich aristocracy. And in both of these families, the point is actually made that they can revive. They are automatically attracted to the principles of devotion. Right? Automatically attracted. So they take birth, and then naturally they are actually attracted to Krishna consciousness. And don't we see this in the family of devotees? Right? We see some children who take birth in the family of devotees, and even at they'll be like 1 year, 2 years, as soon as they start speaking, they'll say Prabhupada, Krishna. You see that they are just naturally attracted. So that shows, that from previous life, they are just continuing their devotion. So that's Prabhupada's second point here. So these two classes. And then third point Prabhupada actually makes is he gives his own example. He says how he himself, when he was born in his childhood, he was just naturally attracted to imitate the worship of Radha and Krishna. Right? So I'll just read this one section from Lilamrita. It's a very sweet section, and we always like to discuss Prabhupada's pastime. This how he was actually from his childhood attracted to worshipping the deity. Yeah, let me share my screen. This is from Prabhupada Lilamrita. Here it says, my father would rise a little late around, you can see my screen, right? Yeah, around 7 or 8. Then after taking his bath, he would go purchasing. Then from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he was engaged in puja. So this is Prabhupada's father. 10 in the morning to 1 o'clock is puja time. Then he would take his lunch, go to business. And in the business shop, he would take a little rest for 1 hour. He would come home from business at 10 o'clock at night. And then again, he would do puja. Actually, his real business was puja. For livelihood, he did just some business, but puja was his main business. So Prabhupada is talking about his father, right? And then he said, we would be sleeping and father would be doing arti. Ding, ding, ding. We would hear the bell and wake up and see him bowing down before Krishna. And then Prabhupada says, Gaur Mohan wanted Vaishnav goals for his son. He wanted Abhay to become a servant of Radharani, to become a preacher of the Bhagavatam, and to learn the devotional art of playing Mridanga. He regularly received sadhus in his home and he would ask them, please bless my son so that Srimati Radharani may be pleased with him and grant him her blessings. So, Gaur Mohan, they used to call all the sadhus, and all of them he actually asked, please bless Prabhupada, our Prabhupada, so that he is actually a devotee of Srimati Radharani. So, so the first point that I selected this section to actually show how, Prabhupada also is a Nitya Siddha devotee, but we are talking about both these categories. Either they take birth because of previous devotional service, they are continuing, or if they are Nitya Siddha, they take birth in the family of devotees. And we see this is how, even the parents are so much engaged with worship that the child, when they're growing up, they just see this kind of worship and they're naturally attracted. And then here it says, when Abhay was about 6 years old, he asked his father for a deity of his own to worship. Imagine 6 years old. So here we are reading Uddhav as 5 years old, absorbed, and Prabhupada 6 years old. And since infancy, he had watched his father doing puja at home and had been regularly seeing the worship of Radha Govinda and thinking, when will I able to worship Krishna like this? He used to see his father like whole day, engaged in ding, 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 worshipping the deity. And Prabhupada is thinking, when will I be able to worship Krishna like this? And on Abhay's request, his father purchased a pair of little Radha Krishna deities and gave them to him. And from then on, whatever Abhay ate, he would first offer to Radha Krishna. And imitating his father and the priests of Radha Govinda, he would offer his deities a ghee lamp and put them to rest at night. So imagine at 6-year-old, even Prabhupada is actually doing arti, putting them to rest, anything he's eating, he's offering to deities. And then he says here, Abhay and his sister Bhavatarini became dedicated worshippers of little Radha Krishna deities, spending much of their time dressing and worshipping them, and sometimes singing bhajans. We read about Uddhav, but you see even Prabhupada, he's like so absorbed in like worshipping them, singing bhajans, their brothers and okay, and then here it says, their brothers and sisters laughed, teasing Abhay and Bhavatarini by saying that because they were more interested in deity than in their education, they would not live long. So the brothers used to tease them, but Abhay replied, they didn't care. So Prabhupada in the purport is giving his own example, right? And the other point we know, also the Rath Yatra. Prabhupada used to actually have his own chariot, and they used to celebrate Rath Yatra, at the childhood. And then describe that how the friends of Gaur Mohan Dev used to say, what, you're having such a big Rath Yatra celebration at your house and you're not inviting us? And you say, no, this is just the children. But it used to be so grand that Abhay, Prabhupada used to arrange, even with the small children, like everyone, all children coming, painting the chariot, having Jagannath, taking them, like just used to imitate the worship of Jagannath Rath Yatra. And this is showing a Nitya Siddha devotee. This is a symptom of a Nitya Siddha devotee. Right? So Prabhupada in the purport, he gives his own example how he was attracted to worshipping the deity from childhood. Okay, text number 3.
Sakatam sevaya tasya kalena jarasam gataha prishto vartam prati bruyad vartu pada vanusmaran.
Hare Krishna. Uddhava thus served the Lord continually from childhood, and in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. As soon as he was asked about the message of the Lord, he at once remembered all about him. Hare Krishna.
It says Katham Seva, how he was serving this the Lord in his childhood. Tasya kalena jarasam gata. The same way, even at age, old age or invalidity, he was still continuing that same service. So hence, this verse is saying, Prishta Vartam, when asked to speak about Krishna, he was going to reply, but because his absorption in Krishna was the same as it was in the childhood, as soon as the question was asked, immediately he actually Pada Anusmaran. He just remembered the lotus feet of the Lord, and hence he actually could not speak. So Prabhupada in the purport makes this very interesting point. He actually says that, because here is saying from childhood he had the devotion, and even at an advanced age he has that devotion. Right? So here Prabhupada says the service attitude of a devotee gradually increases and never becomes slackened. We may think sometimes in bhakti that, okay, we are serving, we are engaged in different kinds of service. Now, after some time, then we'll take retirement. But Prabhupada says in devotional service, there is no retirement. And the whole, as we are engaging in devotional service, our mood or attitude of service should just keep increasing. That is a sign that we are progressing in a path of bhakti. Like in one of these conversations, Prabhupada actually says that when we come and when we see the deity, we come in front of Radha Golokanda, when we see them, what is our mood? When we see them, immediately we are thinking, oh Lord, how can I increase my service to you? That is how a devotee thinks. So every time when we come in front of our deities, we are actually asking, oh Lord, how can I increase my service to you? How can I increase my service? And that is the mood of a devotee. There's no time that, oh yes, now retirement time. Right? I served Krishna for 2 decades. Now I'll take retirement. It's not the case. It is always a service attitude keeps increasing. And we see this mood in, the Prabhupada disciples. And you see all these like sannyasis, senior Prabhupada disciples. They are like 70 plus, 75 years old, 78 years old. Still, they are like tirelessly just going around, traveling the world, one place to another, preaching Krishna consciousness. And their service is just increasing, 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 and increasing. So in devotional life, there is actually no retirement. So Prabhupada is actually making this point. Because this is transcendental service, it should be above the limitations of the body. In the sense that we say bhakti is what? Ahituki apratihata. So nothing should actually be a hindrance to our bhakti. Right? When we see the senior devotees, like they get empowered to do such amazing service, like Jayapataka Goswami Maharaj, Gopal Krishna, like all these, unlimited, like all these wonderful, wonderful devotees, tirelessly going on and on and on and on, right? And that's the example. So Prabhupada is glorifying this mood. The service attitude increases more and more with the progress of age. And sometimes, with some devotees, because of, bodily limitations, maybe the service itself may change, but the mood of service never changes. Our services may change, like maybe initially we are going out 10 hours a day, book distribution, Hari Naam, Sankirtan. And as the age grows, maybe that service may change to a different service, but the mood of service is always increasing, right? Okay. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he makes a point in the purport that he, in his commentary, he actually says Kalena should actually not so much refer to time, because Uddhav was, if you have already said he's a Nitya Siddha, then there is no question of time to Uddhav, right? So it should not refer to time. So here, it can just say that Uddhav is beyond the influence of time, therefore under the influence of service performed, he did not age. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is taking a different way, and he's saying that under the influence of service, his service was going on. Because of his continuously offering the service, he did not actually change his age. And we see, like, even with the senior devotees, they're serving, but they always look so like, fresh and youthful and so much energy. So that's the other way of looking at this. Okay. Okay, so that's the point. So that's the main point Prabhupada focuses on, that a service attitude, because it's on the transcendental plane, it should never actually deteriorate. It should keep increasing, right? So when you go in front of the Lordship, we pray to them. Our question should be, how can I increase my service to you? Okay, text 4.
Samuhurtam abhutushnim krishnangri sudaya brisham tivrena bhakti yogena nimagna sadhu nirvritaha. For a moment he remained dead silent, and his body did not move. He became absorbed in the nectar of remembering the Lord's lotus feet in devotional ecstasy, and he appeared to be going increasingly deeper into that ecstasy.
So here it says, so after asking the question, imagine Vidura has asked the question. He's met Uddhav, has asked the question. And then for Murata, what is Murata? 48 minutes. One Murata is 48 minutes. For 48 minutes, Uddhav actually was what? Tushnim, dead silent. Dead silent, right? And what was his internal state? Krishangi Sudhaya Brisham. He was simply absorbed in the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord. Internally, he was so absorbed that, externally, he was like dead. Dead. No. Tushni, dead silent, right? And then how was that mood of his remembrance? Then we have like 3 qualities that are given. Brisham, which actually Prabhupada translates as well matured. Tivrena, very strong. Nivrita, full in love. So 3 qualities of Uddhav's internal state. That means he was actually submerged in that pain of separation from Krishna, right? And that Tivrena means very strong. Which was the other verse we read Tivrena?
Akama Sarva.
Tivrena Bhakti Yogena.
Yes. Kama Sarva Kama, Moksha Kama Udare, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. So Tivrena here means increasing. That pain of separation or that ecstasy that Uddhav was experiencing was increasing, going deeper and deeper. So for 48 minutes, he actually could not speak. And then, so submerged in that, he was actually absorbed, submerged in the sweetness of Krishna's lotus feet. So that's why that Krishangri, angry, right? Angry means the lotus feet of the Lord, right? Sudhaya Brisham. Okay. Okay, so this is a point. Again, we see that Uddhav's question, Vidura's questions to Uddhav, right? So Uddhav was always conscious of Krishna, but the questions that Vidura has asked has actually served as a Udipana. Udipana means a stimulus, right? A stimulus. Like Mukunda, when he saw the peacock feather, that was a stimulus. He immediately went into ecstasy. Mukunda was already an associate of the Lord, already absorbed in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But where peacock feather served as a stimulus for him to go into deeper. So here, the questions of Vidura served as a Udipana to Uddhav. Right? Okay, and then also another point here is sadhu. When it says Nimagna, sadhu nivrita. So sadhu, you see that word sadhu, actually here it says, his previous peaceful condition, right? So it's described here that because of that ecstasy, it made him forget his previous peaceful condition. So as I said, he was constantly absorbed in separation, but now there's a different level of ecstasy. So that peaceful state of sadhu is now actually given up, and he's actually gone into a different state. Right? So Prabhupada and purport is saying, right, so I made that point. And right. So, we see in Nectar of Devotion how it actually describes the different symptoms that a devotee experiences, right? And one of them is actually described here. Let me share my screen. Is described as becoming stunned. So the first symptom of that Ashta Satvika Vikar, that's what it's called. 8 transformations, Ashta Satvika Vikar, are actually described in the Nectar of Devotion. And you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay. So there are 8. This is Nectar of Devotion, chapter 28. 8 symptoms of existential ecstatic love. The first one is becoming stunned. So that's what Uddhav's state was, becoming stunned. Second one, perspiring, standing of the hairs on the body, faltering of the voice, trembling of the body, changing bodily colors, shedding tears, and devastation. And Rupa Goswami is giving a scientific explanation of how these ecstasies actually occur. So he says here, when the vital force of life is in contact with earth, it is called stunning. So that is becoming stunned. So that is Uddhav's state. When the same vital force comes in contact with water, it causes shedding of tears, like how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited. Like tears were flowing like syringes, water shooting out. So that is when the life air comes in contact with water. When the same force comes in contact with fire, there's perspiration. When the force comes in contact with sky, there's complete devastation. And then when the force comes in contact with air, there is trembling, faulting of voice, and standing of hairs on the body. Right? So these symptoms that we are reading here, it is not something that actually, someone may artificially try to imitate. And Prabhupada has warned us, making the point that, someone just to show that, oh, I am such a great devotee, may actually try to artificially exhibit these symptoms. But these symptoms are when the life force comes in contact with this earth, water, fire, air, ether, it actually leads to this Ashta Sattvika Vikar. So here Uddhav's life force came in contact with air, and then he actually became stunned for 48 minutes. Okay, text 5.
Pula kod bhina sarvango munchan mila drisha shuchaha purnarto lakshitastena sneha prasara samplutaha.
It was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes due to the total ecstasy, and he was trying to wipe away tears of separation from his eyes. Thus, Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for God, for the Lord.
Okay, so further his ecstatic symptoms are actually described. So why did I read the list of 8 and Prabhupada gives those 8 items in the purport? Because here first we read about being stunned. Now we read further symptoms of ecstasy. It says Pulaka Udbhina. That means there was changes in the bodily color, right? The body changes with transcendental ecstasy. And Sarva Anga, every part of the body. And then that was the next ecstasy. So ecstasy number 2. And then third one, Munchan. That means the tears were actually flowing with eyes. So, and he was actually trying to wipe away those tears, the tears of separation from Krishna. So third ecstasy we read here. So 3 of those 8 ecstasies have been mentioned here in relationship to Uddhav. And then it says, Tena, but Vidura, he actually observed all these symptoms. And then Sneha Prasara Samplutaha. He actually concluded that Uddhav is actually in a stage of love, which is even beyond prema, which is actually called Sneha. Which is called Sneha. So it takes an advanced devotee to recognize another advanced devotee. Someone may see like shivering of body and say like, oh yeah, deep ecstasy. But only an advanced devotee can actually recognize others. And Vidura himself is an advanced devotee, and hence he could actually recognize Uddhav's symptoms, his ecstasy, and actually recognize that he is actually at the stage of love called Sneha. Sneha, right? Sneha Prasara, extensive love. And so Prabhupada translation it says, Uddhav had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. Right? So Chaitanya Charitamrita actually describes these symptoms, that how beyond love, beyond prema, what are the 8 different kinds of systems. So you can see my notes here. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says in CC Madhya 2430, it says Bhakti Shabdera Artha Hoy Dasha Vidakar Eka Sadhana Prema Bhakti Nava Prakar. So 9 kinds are there. Okay? So including, so there are 10 meanings of the word bhakti, and 1 is sadhana bhakti, and then nava prakar. So sadhana bhakti is one which we are all engaged in, execution of devotional service according to regulated principle, and the other 9 are varieties of prema bhakti, right? So nava prakar is that. And what are those? The 9 varieties of prema bhakti are rati, prema, sneha. So that is what we are reading here, that Uddhav is actually at the stage of sneha. So rati, prema, sneha, mana, pranaya, raga, anurag, bhav, and mahabhav. Right? So these are attraction, love, affection. Right? So Uddhav was at that stage of love, prema. But what kind of prema bhakti? At the stage of affection, like sneha. Then adverse feelings, intimacy, attachment, sub-attachment, ecstatic love, and sublime ecstatic love. Right? So these are described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay. So Prabhupada in the purport says these are symptoms of the highest order observed by experienced devotee of the Lord. Only an experienced devotee can actually, detect these and say like, oh yes, even these symptoms are that of ecstasy. Right? And then Prabhupada says there are 3 stages of love of Godhead. What are they? Or devotional service. First is sadhana bhakti. So Prabhupada talks of first stage is regulative principles, according to Shastra. So what we are doing sadhana bhakti. We are chanting around, following the 4 regulative principles, trying to get up early in the morning, Mangala Aarti, all those things. So that is the first stage, sadhana bhakti. Second one is what? Assimilation and realization of steady condition of devotional service. That is bhava bhakti. So this is from the purport Prabhupada said. Second stage is that of assimilation and realization of the steady condition of devotional service. And the third stage is ecstasy symptomized by transcendental bodily expression. That's actually, one can say, bhava, right? So 3 stages. So Prabhupada talks of sadhana, bhava, and prema. Right? And then further also Prabhupada says that, that these symptoms can only occur when we actually go through those 9 stages, starting with Ado Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sangha, Tatha Bhajana Kriya. There is no shortcut method, of someone imitating all these. One has to go through these stages. And when one comes to higher stages like Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, and Prem, and it's only at this stage of Bhav that all these symptoms are actually exhibited. Right? Okay, so Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Prabhupada says is actually describing all these symptoms, and that's what we are reading over right now. Okay, text number 6.
Shanakar Bhagavalokan Nrilokam Punar Agataha Vimrijya Netra Viduram Pritya Hodhava Utsmayan.
Hare Krishna. The great devotee Uddhava soon came back from the abode of the Lord to the human plane, and wiping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in the pleasing mood.
So okay, here it says Shanakir. Shanakir means gradually. So for 48 minutes, Uddhav is actually stunned and experiencing all these symptoms that we read in the previous 2 verses. Now, gradually, Bhagavan Lokan, from the Loka, from the planet of the Lord, right? Planet of the Lord, he is actually coming down to Nrilokan. That is planet of the human being. So, and then Puna Agataha, coming again. Then Vimrijya Netra, wiping his tears. Pritya Aha, he's actually, now he is with affection. Utsmayan means by all those remembrances. So with that, all those remembrances in his mind, he's wiping his tears and he's actually speaking with Pritya, with affection, with lot of affection for Krishna. So what we are hearing, what we are going to read in the next few verses is Uddhav filled with that affection and remembrance of Krishna that he's actually going to verbalize in the rest of the chapter. Okay, and what does this mean? Bhagwan Lokat to Nriloka. That Uddhav actually came from the abode of the Lord to the planet of the human beings. That means that when Uddhav was in the state of consciousness, he was actually, in one way, Bhagwan Lokan. He was actually in the abode of the Lord. And now he's coming down to external consciousness. Like we have the story of even Raghunath Das Goswami, right? So Raghunath Das Goswami once in his, meditation, his worshipping of Radha Govinda within his mind, he actually prepared like a sweet rice and he offered it to Krishna and all the gopis. And then after there was a big festival and he's offering the sweet rice, and after Radha Krishna and the gopis had accepted, then he accepted the prasad, the remnants. This is all in his mind, in his meditation. He's accepting sweet rice in his meditation, right? And then because he was in ecstasy, he overate sweet rice. So sometimes in a Sunday feast is a sweet rice and you're eating more. You can say we are following in the footsteps of Raghunath. No, I'm just joking. We cannot do that. We are not at that level. But Raghunath Das Goswami in ecstasy, he overate that sweet rice, right? And then next day, Like devotees did not see Raghunath Das Goswami. And then his room was locked, and from morning until noon, he did not even come out of his room. He did not do his daily, what he used to do, his sadhana of offering obeisance to Vaishnavas and everything. And then the devotees became worried that what happened to Raghunath Das Goswami? And then they knocked on his door and said, "What is happening?" And Raghunath Das Goswami, opened the door. He said, "I'm really sick. I'm really sick." And devotees really got very worried. How come Raghunath Das Goswami is so sick? And then they reported to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami is he was like the father of all, Any problem, they tell Sanatana Goswami. And then he went to Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami immediately, he sent the news to, he was actually staying at the house of Vallabhacharya, right? Vallabhacharya in Mathura. He actually sent Vallabhacharya's son, Sri Vitthal, and then he called for Sri Vitthal, and then Sri Vitthal sent 2 doctors to see Raghunath Das at Radhakund. And when the doctors came and they diagnosed Raghunath Das Goswami, they said, he has eaten too much sweet rice. And then, everyone is like, Raghunath Das Goswami eating too much sweet rice? He actually every day just takes a palmful of buttermilk. And some days he even does not take that. How can he have disease because of excessive sweet rice? And then the devotees understood. This is something that happened at a totally different planet, totally different consciousness. In his mind, he actually had so much sweet rice, and physically, he's actually having that problem. So here also we see Uddhav. He's in Bhagwan Lokan. The devotees are at a totally different platform. They are with Krishna. They are having pastimes with Krishna. But then they come out to external consciousness. So Uddhav came out from Bhagwan Lokan to Nrilokan. Right? And then he actually started speaking with a lot of affection, with wiping his tears, with that remembrance of Krishna. He's going to speak now. Right? So Prabhupada says, a pure devotee lives constantly in the abode of the Supreme Lord. Though they are here in this material plane, where they really are they are constantly in the abode of the Lord. Right? And even in the present body, which apparently belongs to this world. So even though they are here, you can see them here, but they are actually always in the abode of the Lord. Right? So they came down from the abode of the Lord, Dwarka, to the material plane of human beings to actually answer Vidura's question. And then after that, Prabhupada in this purport, he actually talks about that how a devotee can either live on the material plane or in the abode of the Lord in accordance with his existential condition. According to his state of consciousness, he's either here or in the spiritual world. And then Prabhupada actually, he gives the instruction from Rupa Goswami to Sanatana Goswami. And he actually explains so scientifically how a devotee can be here in this world, but at the same time in the spiritual world. Okay, so I'll share my screen just to go through these. This is a very important section of Chaitanya Charitamrita also, where we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami. Share my screen here. Okay, so this is actually from the Subodhini book of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this is a section where we see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructing Rupa Goswami. So Prabhupada actually goes through this entire section. So this is in Madhya Lila, chapter 19, text 151 onwards, where it actually talks of Brahmanda Brahmite Konya Bhagavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lagad Bija. There are millions of jivas, right? One may be fortunate to receive the mercy of a guru. After one receives the mercy of a guru, can you see the screen? Is it readable? Is it okay? Yeah, okay. Then after that, it says, after you receive the seed, what should you do? You should actually become a Mali. Mali means you have to become a gardener. So you become a gardener, you sow that seed in the heart, and you water it every day with Shravana, Kirtana, Jale, Kare, Sechana. You should actually water the seed by Shravan and Kirtan. And then it says, Upajya Bade Lata Brahmanda Bhedi Yaya Viraja Brahma Loka Bedi Para Brahmapaya. Then the seed sprouts, becomes a creeper, it penetrates the walls of the universe, it goes beyond Viraja river and Brahman effulgence and reaches the spiritual sky. So this is what Prabhupada is saying, that when the seed actually, at that Bhakti Lata beach, every day we are doing Shravana Kirtan, chanting, hearing, studying Bhagavatam. We are doing this, then the seed actually sprouts. And Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami says, first the two leaves come out, Shubhada and Kleshagni, and then it grows, and then it actually becomes a creeper. It goes beyond the walls of this universe. It goes beyond Viraja river, and then it reaches the spiritual sky. And then Tabe Yaya Tab Upari Goloka Vrindavan. It reaches actually Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna Charane Kalpa Vriksha Kare Arona. That it actually takes shelter of the desire tree of Krishna's lotus feet. And then Tahana Vistariti Hana Fale Prema Fala Ihan Mali Seche Nitya Shravanadi Jala. And then it produces the fruit of love for Krishna, Prema Fal. Remaining in the material world, the gardener regularly waters the creeper. So this is the point that Prabhupada is stressing, that how Uddhav, though he was here in this material world, yet he is actually in the spiritual world. And Prabhupada gives this whole explanation why, to bring up this text 155, that how even though one actually his devotion goes all the way, it produces that Prema Phala, fruit love of God at the lotus feet of Krishna, is taking the shelter of the desire tree of Krishna's lotus feet, but still remaining in the material world, the gardener is actually regularly watering the creeper, right? So at that stage, when devotee reaches the stage, he is in the spiritual world and yet in the material world. So that's why you see how Prabhupada is explaining this entire section here, just to make the point how a devotee can be in both the material world and in the spiritual world. So Prabhupada concludes and says, Uddhav attained this stage is evident from his dealing. He could simultaneously reach the supreme planet and still appear in this world. The last sentence here. Okay. Stop sharing. Yeah. Okay. So let's do one more verse and we'll just take a reflection. Okay, let's stop here. Yeah, so that's the verse. Okay, so now Uddhav, the next section is, we'll see how Uddhav actually speaks and what does he speak. So rest of the chapter is Uddhav speaking to Vidura. Okay, so any comments, questions, realizations up to this first section of the chapter?
I like it how you said that when we go in front of the deity, we can pray, how can I increase my service to you?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I like this point when you mentioned that Prabhupada's father's main business was puja, and how many hours of puja and how he inspired his son by doing puja.
Leela, that section is so sweet right here, how Prabhupada, even from his childhood, how he's actually worshipping Radha Krishna, how his father was just imitating his father's worship. The father is doing ding, 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 even I'm going to do that. And imagine at 6 years old, Prabhupada actually started worshipping Radha Krishna. That shows the glory of how we are reading. Prabhupada says Uddhav is a Nitya Siddha. Prabhupada is also a Nitya Siddha. He just come down to actually give all of us Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Any other points?
Yeah, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. I really like the point that when people get older, they increase the service. I thought it will be reduced. I mean, I always see with my parents, even though they get old, they still want to do more. I'm like, I thought they are not realizing.
Bodily limitations will come, that's the nature of the body, but in our heart, a service attitude to Krishna should just keep increasing. If you see on the material domain also, people, as they are growing old, because their desires are not satisfied, they will want to do more in the material realm. Oh, I worked so hard, my business, I reached up to so much point. Now I'm 60 years old. If just one more investment I can do, then it will take it to a next level. And even at the old age, people have, though the body is limited, they'll have all these material desires. But because we are trying, and There is this new feature, I don't know if you know, but Zoom and Mac has this new feature that I know if you move your finger in a particular way, you get balloons, and
Oh.
there is a, if you do this, there is something, and some new features. But anyway, so what I was saying is like, yeah, for materialists also, the desires keep increasing. It's not that, okay, now I'm growing old. The desires are there, but because they're unfulfilled, this just leads to more and more frustration. But for a devotee, it is more and more ecstasy, because that is the service attitude to Krishna. That's just increasing and increasing. And a devotee, a materialist cannot do all those desires that he has, but a devotee can still do it. His service may change, but internally his service is just increasing. He may be serving Krishna even like how Raghunath Das Goswami. It may be like a lot of, like he may increase his Manasi Seva and those things, because of limitation of the body. But his desire to increase is just increasing. Desire to serve is increasing, and he actually serves in different capacities. So that's the mood of a devotee. Okay, anything else?
Prabhuji, I like the point, like you mentioned both the stories. Today it was like Bhagavatam class plus CC class also. It was nice. You said, like one Muhurta, how this Uddhava was quiet, and Vidura could understand his mood, and Raghunath Goswami also, like the other devotees understanding the mood of the other devotee, how much love they have for the Lord. Actually, it's very nice. And the point you said, like for Krishna consciousness, there is no retirement. And to understand the human life, like the quicker we get the love for the Lord, the human form of life is fulfilled. Like that is a very nice point. Thank you.
Well, thank you for summarizing those points. Okay, ready for next section? Okay, so let's do. Anyone saying something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like right now,
It's not only SB class, but CC and NOD and everything you covering. That is very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's proceed. The next section is from text 7 to text 11. So now Uddhav starts speaking. And what was the first question that Vidura asked Uddhav? What was the first question that Vidura asked Uddhav? And that is the basis of the remaining questions.
Our Krishna.
Bathe me in the nectar of...
No. First question that Vidura asked Uddhav. That was
about Krishna Balaram's welfare.
The first question was, how are Krishna and Balaram doing? So in response to that, let's see what Uddhav is actually saying. Okay, so let's start text 7.
Uddhava uvacha Krishna Dyumani nimloche girneshva jaggarenaha kimnu na kushalam bruyam gata shishu griheshaham.
Hare Krishna. Sri Uddhava said, "My dear Vidura, the son of the world, Lord Krishna has said, and our house has now been swallowed by the great snake of time. What can I say to you about our welfare?" Hare Krishna.
So even Vidura's question was, if Krishna and Balaram are okay, then everyone else is fine. And here Uddhav is starting off with that point. He says, Kim nu na kushalam. What is there to say about anyone's welfare when Krishna Dhumani, Krishna Dhumani Nimloche, when the son, the Krishna son, has Nimloche, has actually said. What is there to say about the welfare of anyone? You have asked our welfare of the Pandavas, Yadavas, everyone. But what is there when the son of Krishna has said? When Krishna has said, then nothing. There is no question of welfare. So that's his mood here. And then he gives the example. Girneshu ajagarena ha. So ajagar means snake, right? Ajagar we say, right? Ajagar snake. Because a great snake has actually swallowed, right? Swallowed the he says Shishu Griheshu in the house. So he says, like when a great snake has actually cast darkness on an entire house, then what is there to say about the welfare of everyone who's staying in the house? Right? So when the house swallowed by the darkness of lamentation, taking the form of a huge snake. So the Ajgar is actually compared to that mood of lamentation, the mood of separation from Krishna. So now here it says Krishna's son, right? The Krishna Dhumani, Krishna is compared to the sun. So there are actually few points which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, and then Prabhupada makes this point in the purport, that when the sun sets, what happens? Okay, so 4 points are there. So when the sun sets, what happens? First point, darkness appears everywhere, right? Naturally. So similarly, when the Krishna sun has set in this universe, the entire world is devoured with the snake of darkness, the snake of lamentation. Your darkness is compared to lamentation. First point. Second point, when the sun actually sets, what happens? We see these lotus flowers, like sunflower and other flowers. They are blooming when the sun is there. As soon as the sun sets, they actually start to wither. So lotuses wither. Similarly, all the righteous people, they actually wither. Like how we say, Krishna swadhama pagate dharma jnana visa kalo nashta drishamesha punanarko dumatita. When Krishna actually leaves, what happens? Dharma jnana bihi saha. Even dharma and jnana actually leave with Krishna. So when lotus withers, similarly all the righteous people also wither. Then third, Chakravaka birds lament. So Chakravaka birds, they are actually happy when the sun is shining, but as soon as darkness comes, they lament. And who is Chakravaka birds compared to? The devotees of the Lord. So when the Lord actually departs, then the devotees, they actually lament. And then the fourth point is, who becomes joyful when the darkness comes in? The thieves, the ghosts, the Rakshasas, right? Like in the pastime of like the thieves and Nityananda Prabhu, right? When the sun actually set, the thieves became joyful. Now is the time we can go and steal the jewels from Nityananda. So the thieves, the ghosts, the Rakshasas, they become joyful. Similarly, now that Krishna's sun has set, all the irreligious people, they are now rejoicing. And all the demigods are now unsettled. So in that way, these four comparisons of the sun setting and how that Krishna, the son of Krishna, has set. So the world is devoured with darkness, righteous people wither, devotees lament, and then irreligious people rejoice. But there is one difference that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is actually making the point. What is that one difference? Is that when we see that the sun is rising at noontime, setting, right? It is just our perception of the sun that we feel that the sun is changing shape. Right? Sun is as it is, right? So one way here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is making the point that Krishna's birth and other actions, they are actually real. It's not apparent. They are actually eternally true. All these are eternally happening. Right? They're actually eternally true. So that sunset or the appearance pastime, that is also eternally manifesting everywhere. So Prabhupada actually uses this point as a similarity. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is slightly using it as a different, but Prabhupada is using the point that as the sun sets, as Krishna's sun is setting in this universe, another universe, Krishna's sun is rising. In another universe, Krishna is now showing his pastime of appearance to Devaki and Vasudeva. So all these pastimes are continuously happening. Like sun is setting here, and another place in the world, sun is rising. So similarly, another universe in this world, the sun of Krishna's pastime is actually rising. So all these pastimes continuously take place. Now, Prabhupada in the purport is actually saying, why does Uddhav start off with this as the main point? Right? So we already discussed how Vidura asked the same question, Uddhav is answering the same way. But Uddhav's mood is actually, he's saying that, what can I say to you about our welfare? And he's using the word our welfare to actually say that, yes, Vidura, I know, like underneath, about this, and you have that mood of lamentation. Even I am actually lamenting in the same way. We are all lamenting the disappearance of Lord Shri Krishna. Right? Okay, and one more point that Prabhupada actually brings out in the purport. He says sun rises once in 24 hours, right? So similarly, Krishna's pastimes happen. Original Swayam Bhagwan Krishna happens once in 24 hours of Brahmaji. Once in the 24 hours of Brahmaji is Krishna's original pastimes take place. So there's one more comparison Prabhupada talks about. Okay, the next verse.
Durbhago patalokayam yadavo nitaramapi ye samvasanto na vidhur harimina ivo dupam.
Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This universe with all its planets is most unfortunate, and even more unfortunate are the members of the Yadu dynasty because they could not identify Lord Hari as the personality of Godhead any more than the fish could identify the moon. Hare Krishna.
So 2 points is actually, so now we are seeing in all these verses, we see Uddhav's mood of lamentation, right? And why is he lamenting? Well, certainly Krishna has disappeared, but more specific, what is the cause of lamentation? So here he said, Durbhago Bata Loka. That, the people of this world are very unfortunate. Why? Because Krishna actually appeared and then now he's actually, finished his pastimes, and still there are people, foolish people, who actually could not recognize Krishna in spite of Krishna actually coming and showing his beautiful form, showing his 6 opulences, Sad Aishwarya Purna. And which is the verse that Prabhupada would quote in the purport in relationship to this? If you see the purport, there's no point, but what verse can you think of from Bhagavad Gita? Who are those unfortunate people who cannot see Krishna? Anyone?
Mudhatma.
Okay, you're getting close. So Krishna says, Avajananti ma mudha.
Mamuda.
Right? Avajananti ma mudha. Manusim tanum ashrita. Those are foolish people. They are unfortunate. Why? Manusim, they actually consider that when Lord appeared, they consider him as a normal human being, an ordinary human being. Param bhavam ajanan. They do not know the param bhavam of the Lord, the highest nature. And then mama bhuta maheshwara. Right? They do not know the Lord as Bhuta Maheshwara, the Lord of all living entities. Mama Bhuta Maheshwara. Right? So Prabhupada quotes that verse in and the other verse we can think of it is also Naham Prakasha Sarvasa. I do not reveal myself to everyone. Yoga Maya Samajta, because they are covered by the Maya potency of the Lord. So Uddhav is lamenting for all those people, foolish people, who did not recognize the glories of the Lord and who did not actually surrender to the Lord and take the opportunity of Lord Krishna's descent. Imagine the Lord has come down to the earth right now, and if we still don't actually surrender to the Lord, then who can be more unfortunate with this? And Uddhav is lamenting for that. So that's the first one. Second lamentation is more unfortunate are those who are the Yadavas, right? Why Uddhav is saying the Yadavas are more unfortunate? The Yadavas are associates of the Lord, right? Why are they so unfortunate? And here Uddhav is actually saying that because they were always in the company of the Lord, and yet they were unable to recognize the glories of the Supreme Personality of God. These Yadavas, Krishna is living with them. Still they cannot recognize. They are even more unfortunate. Right? So that is the second. Right? And then third, lamentation. So there's lamentation for all people who did not recognize Krishna. Lamentation for the Yadavas, that even though Krishna was living with them, they could not recognize. And third lamentation is his own lamentation on his own fortune. Right? That he knew that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is here, but he cannot properly use the opportunity to render devotional service to the Lord. And this is the mood of all devotees. That even though we may be engaged in service of the Lord, what is the mood of a devotee? A devotee will not say, oh yes, I did my service for the Lord today. I chanted 16 rounds, abhi ho gaya. A devotee is always in the mood of, oh Krishna, I am not serving you enough. I am actually the most fallen of all fallen souls because I cannot serve you. Right? How do we sing in the bhajan? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Daya karo more, tuma bina kedayalu jagat samsare, patita pavana hetu tava avatara, mosama patita Prabhu, nahi tribhuvan. How come Narottam Das Thakur is saying, Mosama patima, there is no more fallen soul than me? Because I am actually not serving you. And that is the mood of a devotee. A devotee never thinks that, oh yes, I did my service. You know, I had so much service, kitchen cleaning service, cooking service, abhi ho gaya. Devotee never thinks like that. Always he's thinking that, oh Krishna, I cannot serve you. Please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. And what did Prabhupada say? The Mahamantra, the meaning of the Mahamantra is, oh Radha, oh Krishna, please engage me in your service. Oh my dear friend, please accept me and let my heart be closer to you. This whole thing is actually a song that Mahatma Prabhu wrote. And he actually sings this with guitar, and it's very sweet actually with the Mahamantra, the meaning of the Mahamantra. It says, oh Radha, oh Krishna. He goes in a nice melody, like I can say it, but I'm not good at melodies. But he actually says, oh Radha, please engage me in your service. Oh my friend, please accept me and let my heart be drawn closer to you. So that's the meaning of the Mahamantra. So a devotee is always in that mood. Please engage me in your service. Please, I am not able to serve you. Oh Krishna, please engage. So Uddhav is actually lamenting, thinking himself most unfortunate that Krishna actually appeared here and yet I could not serve him. So that's the third lamentation. The fourth point here is the comparison here. So it says, any more than the fish could identify the moon. Harim Meena. What is Meena? Meena avatar. Or Matsya avatar, right? Fish incarnation. So Harim Meena. So Meena refers to the fish. Iva Udupam, the moon. Right? Any more than the fish could identify the moon. So Prabhupada explains this, that okay, so Prabhupada actually, the way he explains this, he says, the moon is born of the milk ocean, right? Shira ocean. Right? And then he says, but the fish has experience only of a salty ocean. Right? So when he sees the moon, he thinks that even the moon is one of the living entities in the salty ocean. But he cannot recognize the moon is actually born of the Shira ocean or the milk ocean. So that is one comparison. The second one that Prabhupada actually says, he says the urine of a cow is salty. And according to Ayurveda, the cow's urine is very effective in treating patients with liver disease. Okay. Now, what is this comparison? See, from the cow comes urine. That is salty. That is a treatment for anyone who has liver disease. Okay. Now, a person with liver disease, he does not take milk. Milk is not good for him. But it's the same cow from whom the milk is actually also coming. So he just has experience of the salty urine, but he does not have experience of the cow milk, which is actually coming. Both are coming from the cow. He does not have, right? So similarly, the fish, he actually thinks that the moon is just one of, another fish like me, maybe a shiny fish, and he cannot recognize that actually the moon, though it is, totally different, is actually, the fish is actually considering the moon as one other fish in that salty ocean, but actually the moon is totally different. So similarly, the Yadavas, they considered that, oh, Krishna is just one among us. He's the head of all the Yadavas, but he's one among us, and they could not recognize the true glories of Krishna. So is this 3 points okay? The lamentation of Uddhav, general people, Yadavas, and third, his own lamentation. Okay. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is, a little bit elaborating on this. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes the point that he's criticizing the Yadavas from seeing his own awareness of the Lord's great powers, which are suddenly arisen from the feeling of great separation. They are bewildered by sweetness, therefore they do not know the power. Actually, they are very fortunate because sweetness is greater than the experience of power. They are still performing pastimes with the Lord in Aprakat Leela, but only you and I are unfortunate since we are left behind. Therefore, we are the most unfortunate. You understand the point? The point here is Uddhav is actually saying that the Yadavas, they saw Krishna and they were dealing with Krishna just as one among them. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, actually, that is a deeper level of devotion where one knows the sweetness of the Lord, but does not know the opulence, the power of the Lord. Right? And these Yadavas are actually so fortunate that they know, they actually associated, they ate with the Lord, they sat with the Lord, they served, and they did daily activities with the Lord. Their devotion is so high. And now, where are the Yadavas? The Yadavas are actually now in the Aprakat Leela. Like even now, if you go to Dwarka, Vrindavan, Krishna is there in Dwarka with all the Yadavas. The pastime is still going on, but it is aprakat. It's not visible to our vision. So it's still there. And Uddhav is actually making the point that the Yadavas are so fortunate because they are still having pastimes with Krishna, though Krishna is left. And only I, as a Yadava, and you, Vidura, we both are unfortunate because we are left behind. Krishna did not take us into the Aprakat Leela. Right? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is actually saying that he's talking about the Yadavas, and in comparison to them, he's actually saying how he is more unfortunate than the Yadavas. The Yadavas are actually very fortunate. So that is the mood. You have to understand the dynamics here. Is that make sense? The 2 points? Yeah, okay. Okay, text 9. And then the example of the fish is okay. The fishes took the moon to be one of them, or maybe something illuminating, but nothing more. Similarly, the Yadavas may have considered that, oh, Krishna is just one among us, and not recognize the true glories of Krishna.
In one way, the Yadavas were aware of Krishna's opulences, right? More than the Vrindavan residents.
So that is the next point, next verse. Okay. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur continues this point. But in this point, at least he's making the point that they are actually so fortunate because they are with Krishna, eating with Krishna, doing all these activities. Yeah. Krishna departed, they entered the Aprakat Leela. But I am left behind. So that. Okay. So let's see the next point about yes. So text 9.
Ingita gya puru prodha eka ramashtra satvataha satvatam rishabham sarve bhutas vasam amam sata.
The Yadus were all experienced devotees, learned and expert in psychic study. Over and above this, they were always with the Lord in all kinds of relaxations, and still they were only able to know him as the one supreme who dwells everywhere.
So here the point is, so he said, Ingita Gyaha. So he's describing the Yadavas. They are saying expert in psychic study, And the second quality, he says, Puru Prodha. They're highly experienced. So these Yadavas are highly experienced devotees. They're expert in psychic study. And then he says, Eka Aramaha. Aramaha means even they were always with the Lord. Arama means resting, right? Aram kar raha hai. Aram, right? Aram, resting. So even while they're resting, they are with the Lord. They are with the Lord. So they are so, the Satvatam, and they are with the Lord. They are so expert. Yet, what is the point? Yet they actually saw the Lord only as Satvatam Rishabham, as the head of the family, as the supreme. And second one, Sarve Bhuta Arasam, as the all-pervading super soul. So even though they were actually having, they were relaxing with the Lord, but they actually recognize the Lord only as the all-pervading super soul or the head of the Yadava dynasty. Right? So here is, what Ratnaradhika actually asked, that how can Uddhav say that the inhabitants of Dwarka are devoid of knowledge of Krishna's power? There's the Gokul Vasis, we can say that they know only sweetness and no power. But the Yadavas, they actually knew. But their knowledge of Krishna's power was that of Krishna as the Paramatma. not that of Krishna as the source of Narayan, as the source of all the Vishnu avatars. And hence, Uddhav is actually making the point that they knew Krishna as Paramatma, but they did not know Krishna as Swayam Bhagwan, as the source of Narayan. And hence, Uddhav is actually lamenting for the Yadavas. Okay. So they are highly experienced, highly intelligent. Therefore, they knew Krishna. They knew what was in. Okay, yeah. So that was the main point. That they knew Krishna as the all-pervading super soul, as the head of the Satyam, Rishabham as the head of the family. Okay. Okay. So now, Prabhupada in the purport, he actually makes a point that how can anyone know Krishna? Right, and he quotes this verse, which is a very famous, commonly quoted verse. Nayam Atma Pravachanina Labhyo, na Medhaya, na Bahuna Shrutena. He says the Supreme Lord is not obtained by Nayam Atma Pravachanina Labhyo, by your expert explanation. Na Medasa, not by your vast intelligence. And then na Bahuna Shrutena, not by hearing also a lot. Then how can you know the Lord? Yam eva Yam Aivaisha Vrinute Tena Labhyas Tasvaiva Atma Vinuta Tanum Swam. He is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. Right? So Prabhupada and the purpose is making the point. Who can know Krishna? Only one who Krishna actually selects to reveal himself to that person. That's the only person who can know Krishna. And how can we actually attract that mercy of Krishna? Only by bhakti. Because Krishna is actually conquered by the bhakti, not by any gyan, yoga, or anything else, not by medasa, not by intelligence, not by expert explanations, only by devotion service. Krishna is attracted by the bhakti, and then he reveals himself to that bhakta. And then Prabhupada says how the Yadavas, they actually could know Krishna as Vasudev, or the super soul living everywhere, not as Swayam Bhagavan, the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, it's only, yeah. So lack of knowledge was not due to their insufficient erudition, it was due to their misfortune. In Vrindavan, however, the Lord was not even known as Paramatma because the residents of Vrindavan were pure, unconventional devotees of the Lord and could think of him only as their object of love. So Vrindavan Vasis are actually higher in that way. But here he is actually talking about how the Yadavas, they knew Krishna only as the Paramatma, not as source of Narayan. Okay. Next verse. And let's complete this section and we can do a quick review if there are any questions.
Devasya Mayaya Sprishta Yechan Yad Asad Ashrutaha Brahmyate Dhirna Tadvakyar Atman Uptatmano Haro.
Under no circumstances can the words of persons bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord deviate the intelligence of those who are completely surrendered souls.
Okay. So what is this verse here? So it says, it starts off with Devasya Mayaya. So Deva referring to the Lord. Maya, under the influence of the external energy, Sprishtaha, those who are actually influenced by the external energy of the Lord, they cannot, right? All those Asat illusionary have taken shelter of Brahman. They cannot Brahmate, bewilder those Dhiya who are actually intelligent and who are actually Upta Atmana, who are surrendered souls of Hari. So those who are under the influence of the external energy of the Lord, they are infected by the influence, they cannot bewilder those people who are Upta Atmana. They cannot deviate those people who are actually surrendered souls onto the Lord. Okay. Okay, yeah, sorry, I wasn't getting the connection here. So yeah, so so what is this verse here? So the verse is actually saying, so devotees in this material world, right, they are actually covered by the influence of Maya. Hence, they do not realize the glories of Krishna, right? And then the Yadavas, they are eternally in association with the Lord, right? And they see the Lord as the Paramatma feature. That's the opulence they have, and that's the realization they have, right? But then he's actually saying, okay, and so three categories are being talked here. One is the people who are who are bewildered by Maya. Second is the Yadavas, who are eternally in association of the Lord. Third are the devotees, the pure devotees, who are in separation from the Lord, now that the Lord has actually left, right? So he's talking of that those people who are under the influence of Maya, they cannot actually deviate these people who are in separation or who are actually these Yadavas who are eternally in association with the Lord, right? And then what does the people who are bewildered by Maya, what do they say? Actually, they say, oh, Krishna gave up his body and he has gone to Vaikuntha. But Krishna does not give up his body, right? That's the first point. And second is, they say destruction of the Yadavas was caused by a Brahmana's curse. And they say like, oh, see, Yadavas, they are also one among us. They were actually cursed by the Brahmanas, and hence they were actually destroyed. So both these points are actually said by only those people who are actually covered by Krishna's Maya Shakti. Right? Only they say that, but the true thing is actually described in the next verse. That is the vision of a devotee. How does a devotee actually see the disappearance of the Lord? That is described in the next verse. Okay, so this works with, if you see the connection, it will make sense when we actually see 10 and 11 together. So Prabhupada in the purport, he says, right, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is revealed in all the Vedas, or the Acharyas actually make this point. But different classes of people, they accept this differently. And right, so okay, and therefore their calculations of the Lord were also different. Okay, so those who have faith in the Shastra, they accept the Lord, and then so when the Lord departed and disappeared, they actually were in great bereavement, right? And Prabhupada says in the first canto, we already read about how Arjun and Yudhishthir, they were actually drowning in an ocean of lamentation after Krishna actually departed. And the Yadavas were only partially cognizant of the Lord, but they are also glorious because they had direct association with the Lord. So there are three classes we have to remember. So Prabhupada talks about all three classes. One is those who are bewildered by Maya. Second is the Yadavas. They know Krishna, but they don't know Krishna as the source of the Narayan, right? As Swayam Bhagwan. They know Krishna as Paramatma. And third are the devotees who know Krishna as Swayam Bhagwan, and they are actually experiencing that lamentation now that Krishna has actually departed. And then, what these people who are in Krishna and Maya, they may say so many things, like Krishna actually left his body, or they may say that Yadavas, they are ordinary people, they fought, and then they disappear. But Prabhupada makes a point in purport. All these blasphemies do not touch the heart of the devotees of the Lord. For devotee of the Lord, they may say so many things, but devotee of the Lord is not bewildered by all these things. Okay, next verse, and then we'll summarize this section.
Pradarshyatabda tapasam avitripta drisham nirnam adhayantar adhadyastu swabhimbam lokalochanam.
Hare Krishna. Lord Sri Krishna, who manifested his eternal form before the vision of all on the earth, performed his disappearance by removing his from the sight of those who are unable to see him as he is due to not executing required penance.
So this verse is actually giving. So now we are talking of the Krishna's disappearance Leela, right? So that's the question that Uddhava has asked. Sorry, Vidura has asked, and Uddhava is giving the answer. And he's saying like people, materialistic people, they may say so many things. They may say, oh, Krishna was shot by a hunter. People say that. And then there was blood, and hence he actually left his body, or the Yadavas were cursed, they left. All those people are saying, but devotees are not people. What is the true vision of a devotee? He's telling Vidura, this is the true vision of how a devotee actually sees Krishna's disappearance. So this verse actually says how Krishna, he actually pradarsya, he exhibited, right, atapta tapasam, right? So this word of avitripta drisham, without fulfillment of desire. So this is a little bit complicated verse, so we'll actually discuss this. So let me make this point first. So Krishna manifested Swabimbam Loka Lochanam. He actually showed his own form before the public. Loka means the general public, right? He showed his beautiful form before the public. And then what did he do? Krishna Anta Adar. He actually showed his disappearance pastime by removing his form from those who are avitripta drisham, like those who are actually without fulfillment of vision, like those who do not have sufficient what is the word? Atapta tapasam. Those who do not have sufficient austerities. Krishna actually withdrew his vision from those who do not have sufficient austerities. So what does this mean? So one way of understanding this is Uddhava is actually telling Vidura that Vidura, this pastime that Krishna actually came and he actually showed himself to all the people. Right? Even Duryodhana was actually seeing Krishna. All these people, they were actually able to see Krishna. But then after showing his form to everyone, then he is actually showing his disappearance Leela. And then he actually disappeared from those people who do not have enough austerities or enough penances. What does this mean? That actually Krishna is still present, but he is actually in the aprakat Leela. But those who are not qualified, they think that, oh, Krishna has now disappeared. So he's telling Vidura, that is, yes, we are lamenting the separation, but this is the true vision of a devotee, that Krishna is actually still there. Right? So this is, so we'll go through a few points here. First, the Lord, first point we said is Lord is showing his form to public vision. Loka, he says, to all the people, Krishna comes and he shows his form. Why does he come and show his form? Particularly this form of Shyam Sundar? Because he wants all these people here who are in ignorance, to actually taste his sweetness, to see his beautiful form. We'll read that further in the next few verses, that, when people saw on the battlefield, they saw the form of Krishna. They were shot by Arjun's arrows. And when they could see that appreciation, oh, Krishna is so beautiful, immediately they went to Vaikuntha planets, right? So Krishna actually appeared and showed his beautiful form to everyone. Right? Okay, that's the first point. Then second point is this avitripta drisham also refers to those who are actually greedy for Krishna, right? In the sense that like those devotees who see Krishna's form, right? Maybe you can think of like Uddhava and Vidura. They are devotees of the Lord. They have seen Krishna's form, right? But they are greedy for seeing more of Krishna's form. What are they? Why did Krishna disappear from their vision? Because he wanted them to taste the mood of separation, which is actually more intense than the mood of union. So that is second point, right? So one is general public, right? General public, he's attracting them back home, back to Godhead. Second, for those who are greedy for him, like those devotees, like Uddhava and Vidura, they actually, Krishna disappears, show that Leela, so that they would experience that sweetness, which is actually sweetness of separation, which is actually very intense, but it's actually more deeper than that of union. And okay. So these are the two things. And the third one is those people who actually have sufficient piety. They actually are still with Krishna in the aprakat Leela. Right? So three categories, they are understanding their reasons for Krishna's disappearance Leela is actually mentioned. One is the common loka. Second are those who are greedy for him, and Krishna wants them to taste the separation rasa. and third are those who are fortunate and they have actually entered into Aprakata Lila. So also the other points that Prabhupada actually makes in this purport is he says, here it is particularly said that Krishna is actually showing his form and then he disappears. Right? It says antaha, disappearance. Right? It's not saying Krishna giving up his body. It's saying Krishna disappear. Krishna is actually showing his form. So this defeats the argument that Krishna actually gave up a material form and he actually assumed a spiritual form. Krishna is all spiritual. Right? So Prabhupada says, Avitripta Drisham, conditioned source vision. They are never satisfied by material objects. Example, he gives a fish is on land. A fish, if is on land, how much ever you can actually give him material things, he'll never be satisfied. Similarly, the conditioned souls, as much as they see material things, they can never be satisfied. The only way a jiva can be satisfied is when he actually sees Krishna or comes in contact with Krishna. And that's the reason Krishna comes down, shows his beautiful form, because that's the only way conditioned jivas can be satisfied. Okay, that's the first point Prabhupada says. Okay. Okay. And Prabhupada says, those who are actually of the jivas, Krishna shows his form to all the loka, but only those who are actually have sufficient piety, they are attracted to the form of Krishna. And then he quotes the verse, Yesham tva antagatam papam janana punya kamala. Only those who have that sufficient piety. Krishna is coming. He's showing his beautiful form to all the people. But how many people actually appreciated the form? Those who have that piety, they actually appreciate the form. And once they appreciate the form, that's it. Then they were actually immediately promoted to the Vaikuntha Lokas. Right? They went back home, back to God. Okay. So this is the first, the second section here, where one way Uddhav is actually explained the unfortunate situation of the Yadavas, and he's actually talked about the real reason for the disappearance of the Lord. What is the true way the devotees should actually see the disappearance Leela of the Lord? Okay. So I'll stop here. Maybe someone can reiterate some points from this section and about Uddhav's mood. And then if there's questions that come up, then we can discuss it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was thinking that I'm so unfortunate that I am those 25% of the living entities who can't see the beautiful form of the Lord right now. 75% of the devotees, they are already in the Prakat Leela of the Lord. And in this last verse that we read, text 11, the first paragraph, Prabhupada is writing, the spirit soul can be happy only in the association of the Supreme Living Being and nowhere else.
And that's the reason Krishna actually appears. He actually showed this form and disappeared. Why? Because the only way the jivas can be satisfied is actually when they see the beautiful form of the Lord. Okay, nice. Okay, next point.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. The three classes of people who, like the one who are bewildered by Maya, and the Yadavas who does not know him as Shyamasundara, and those who know him as Shyamasundara. Those are the three classes of people.
Yes. And then the two classes, the Yadavas and the devotees, they can never be bewildered by whatever the third category says. So he's telling Vidura that, people may say so many things that Krishna was shot by an arrow, etc., etc., but devotees are not believers. So you don't be bewildered by any of these statements of the disappearance.
I have one question, Prabhuji. See, I always wondered, in India, they always show the Dasavataram and the Vishnu as the, Krishna coming from Vishnu as an avatar, and not the recognition of Krishna as the source of, like Narayana. I only understood now, actually. Here it is explained very clearly, but I have always wondered about how in general public are thinking that Dasavataram is coming from Vishnu, right?
So you have a question, Mati, or just a comment?
Yeah, question plus I answered myself because this verse was an answer.
Actually, the next verse, the next section will actually really point out the answer to this, to prove that how when Krishna actually appears, he actually appears in such a way that he even attracts the Narayan and the Vishnu features. And it actually proves how Krishna's form is actually the highest. So next verses will actually establish that point. Okay. Any
Yeah,
other?
because most of the people ask me that question, right? Like, I'm when I say Krishna is supreme, they no, it's then explain it to me. I was unable to explain, but
So
this is
when such questions come, we should say, okay, let's go back to Shastras and find what Shastras say about this. Right now, yes, the Vedas are very vast, so which section of the Vedas should we find the quote from? Well, Vyasadeva himself has actually given us the essence of the Vedas in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's look at the Srimad Bhagavatam and say, what does Srimad Bhagavatam say about this? Whether Vishnu or Krishna, who's come from whom? And then you can quote Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the essence of all the Vedas, in the first canto, 3rd chapter, text 28, clearly says, it talks of different avatars, and then it concludes by saying, what?
Krishna is the supreme.
Yeah, what is the verse?
Krishnastu Bhagavan.
Ete chamsa
Ete chamsa kala pumsam Krishna's through Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
So it's listed, all the Dashavatar, all those incarnations are said there. And after that, Ete cha amsha. All those are actually amshas of Krishna. But Krishna is actually the original Supreme Personality of God. And if you give such an answer, saying that, oh, Vedas are there, and essence of the Vedas is Bhagavatam, and in Bhagavatam, this verse, 1st canto, 3rd chapter, text 28, this is the shloka, and after listing all the incarnations, Vyasadeva himself is establishing that Krishna. Then it's like perfect answer. Like, what can they say after that? So that is the way we actually explain. We have to understand these by authority, not by, oh, this person saying this, or I heard this, or this TV serial Vishnu Puran on TV has showed this. Not all this. What is our authority? We have to come back to Shastras. Okay. Any other points?
Prabhuji, I also like the point that Prabhupada is saying in the last line of the purport of text 10, that we should never be disturbed by the blasphemies of those non-devotees. Prabhupada is saying, if we are disturbed by those statements of the asuras, we are condemned. So pure devotees are never bewildered.
Those who are disturbed are also condemned. Yeah. So devotees are never bewildered. Yes, next one. Yes, someone else was saying?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, I like these points, what you mentioned in the last verse. He attracts everyone because jivas can be satisfied only by seeing his beautiful form. And then you said for those devotees who are very greedy for Krishna, they released it still in Vipralamba, love in separation, right?
Yes.
And more fortunate devotees are those who enter into Aprakta Leela. Did I understand that correct? The last one.
Like one way, more fortunate, that is a question mark there.
Yeah, that I did not understand that. I need more explanation.
Like in devotees, you can say like, okay, some of them who are actually Krishna wanted them to taste that rasa of separation, they are actually left behind. And Uddhava is actually referring to himself at that point. But it's not necessarily saying more fortunate. And those who are actually associated with the Lord, they have actually entered into Aprakata.
So gopis,
yeah.
Gopis are also very pure devotees, right? But they are in love in separation, right?
Yeah, but they entered into Aprakata Lila, and within the Aprakata Lila, they are actually experiencing that separation.
Oh, now I got it. Okay. Both.
Yeah. So Uddhav is saying that, before he made the point that yes, they actually entered, the Yadavas have entered, but I am actually left behind. But Krishna wants Uddhav to taste that mood of separation. Okay.
I have a question also. So when Uddhava is saying that people in general could not take advantage of Krishna's descent, they couldn't recognize him, and the Yadavas are more unfortunate because they're living with Krishna. Could we see it as humility, that he's seeing it like he's being very humble because he's part of the Yadavas, right? So he's saying like we're even more unfortunate than people in general because we were living with Krishna and we couldn't recognize him. Could we see it like that, like a mood of humility?
So, like Uddhav's point is, he's saying, okay, unfortunate are those people who have not come in contact with Krishna. I know why these balloons keep coming on. Unfortunate are those people who are actually not come in contact. Even though Krishna appeared, they did not recognize Krishna. That's unfortunate, right? And then let's see, there is a so that is one. The second category is okay. Anyway, I'll come back to your point. But can someone else make a comment? I'm just thinking on one point. I've written one point in my notes, which was actually very interesting, but I'll have to find it. Okay, any other comments, anyone?
You mentioned, Roji, about piety. So how do we understand the word piety in the spiritual sense here, not the material piety?
So that Chaitanya Charitamrita actually explains that three kinds of piety, right? Karmon Mukha Sukriti, Jnanon Mukha Sukriti, and Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti. So this has to be, so Karma Unmukha Sukriti is like charity due to like opening a hospital or feeding the poor. So it's not talking of Karma Unmukha Sukriti, because that will lead to heavenly planets. That has no connection to Krishna. Gyan Mukha Sukriti is also like just a charity, Sukriti because of like, philosophical speculation there and so on. Only Bhakta Unmukha Sukriti, which will start with Agyata Sukriti. Those are these piety that's actually mentioned. Only with that one can actually come to Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, may I add one more point?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned that Krishna is still present in Aparakrita Leela and only visible to pure devotees even today.
Okay. What was your point? That was your point?
Yeah, Krishna can be seen even today because he has not vanished at all. He's still present.
That's the vision of a devotee. That's Uddhav's point to Vidura, right? And then the point I was trying to make is Uddhav's point in criticizing the Yadavas is actually that, okay, that, there are people who do not know Krishna at all. There are people who know Krishna as Bhagwan. But the most unfortunate are those who know Krishna but do not know Krishna completely as Bhagwan. They are actually half, because they know Krishna as Paramatma, but they know Krishna as Bhagwan. So that is Uddhav's lamentation, that they have come so close to understanding Krishna's glory, the Yadavas, but they have just stopped at the realization that, oh, Krishna is the Paramatma in the heart of, and they have not gone all the way higher to actually realize Krishna as Bhagwan. And hence he's actually saying this is the true reason why he feels that they are important.
And addition, question following that is, how can we understand that's Paramatma realization? Because isn't their relationship with Krishna so personal? It's not like just they're meditating on Paramatma. It's like it's definitely Bhagavan, but it's more Vasudev Bhagavan, right? It's not.
It's not Bhagavan Krishna, yes. Yeah,
but
so
it's still Bhagavan feature. It's still they're worshiping the personal feature of the Lord. It's not like they're meditating on Krishna in the heart, right?
Yeah. So when we say Vasudev feature, they realize the Vasudev feature. Paramatma is a manifestation of the Vasudev feature. So that is their understanding. They are not thinking Krishna as, oh, he is the source of all the Narayan. He is the source of all the Vishnus. That's not their understanding. Their understanding is, yes, he is Vasudev feature, but that feature is manifested as Paramatma. That's our understanding. So they see him as the head of all the Yadavas and as Vasudev as the manifestation of Paramatma. Okay, so let's take a quick break. and we'll come back. I hope the section was okay. Like, there are like different moods in which like Uddhav is actually talking of the unfortunate people, unfortunate Yadavas, and his own unfortunate situation. And then he's saying, right, how the Yadavas have just realized the Paramatma feature, and how the intelligence of those who have surrendered to Krishna, it cannot be bewildered by those who are actually under the influence of illusion. And then the last verse, text 11, is talking of what is the true vision of a devotee in relationship to this disappearance pastimes of the Lord. Okay. Fine. Take a break now. Okay. So let's stop here. Come back in 5 minutes and continue.
Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
One question, Prabhuji, the people who participated in the Kauravas, are they normal living beings, or are they associates? Is it a pastime, like all are Krishna's associates, or like how can I understand that?
No, Kauravas, they are all like, when Krishna comes, he comes to like annihilate the miscreants, right? And
Okay.
All these Kauravas are the miscreants, and Krishna actually appeared to destroy all these miscreants.
Okay. And
And
they
when
are
he comes with his associates. That is all Brajvasis and Dwarkavasis. They are all the associates.
Okay. And they got liberated, is what you're saying, Prabhuji?
So
Like,
that will come to the next section. We'll talk about that.
thank you. Hare Krishna.
Which devotees like Bhishma Pitama, they are Nitya Siddhas, they are eternal associates.
I'm not sure whether, because Bhishma, there's a story how he was like a Vasu and then he fell down, right? As one of the Vasus. So there's a story of how, the story in the heavenly planets, he was actually one of the Vasus, and then out of that they all fell down. And Bhishma had that's see, again, in that aspect, like last time what we discussed, that when the eternal associates come, they actually have like a demigod counterpart and their original. So we know the Bhishma story of how he actually fell down as a demigod, right? Because and how he came to the earth. That story is known. Whether there's an eternal aspect of Bhishma in the Vaikuntha planets. Sure. About that aspect. Okay, let's stop.
Yeah, one more reason.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah, Prabhu, I'm asking, like, how come they got the opportunity to see the Krishna, even though they are miscreants?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll discuss that in the next section, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
In the Chaitanya Subodhini, you showed the Bhakti Lata beach.
Yes.
I could not find it.
This
Which
is
one?
19th chapter, Mati, text 130, around that section.
Say that again, Prabhuji.
19th chapter, Madhya Lila.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. You're actually looking in this Subodhini book.
Yes. But not in this Chaitanya Charitamrita Subodhini.
Oh, you're looking at. So Madhya Lila, just look at the 19th chapter.
19th chapter, a text 155.
Yeah, 155. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, so let's continue. Now it's a very sweet section where we'll talk about the Uddhav will remember the attractive beauty of the Lord. Okay, so let's start with text number 12.
Yanmartyalilo paikam swayoga maya balam darshayata grihitam vishmapanam swasya chaso bhagardhe param bhushana bhushanangam.
Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Are you back? All of you?
Sorry. Can I read the translation, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead. And devotees can again turn back your video cameras. Yeah, go ahead.
Translation: The Lord appeared in the mortal world by his internal potency, Yogamaya. He came in his eternal form, which is just suitable for his pastimes. These pastimes were wonderful for everyone, even for those proud of their own opulence, including the Lord himself in his form as the Lord of Vaikuntha. Thus, his Sri Krishna's transcendental body is the ornament of all ornaments. Hare Krishna.
Right. So now Uddhav is actually talking of the beauty of the Lord, and this verse is actually revealing that the form of the Lord that Krishna came as Sham Sundar Krishna, that form, two-handed form, is actually attractive even to the Vaikuntha, the Lord of Vaikuntha. So this actually comes to Vijay Radhika Mata, your question about who is supreme, Vishnu or Krishna. And here is clearly saying that form that Krishna came as Sham Sundar, even the Vaikuntha Vasis are the Lord of Vaikuntha is actually attracted to that form. Okay, so let's see. Yan Martya Leela Upayikam. Right, so he actually came in his eternal form, just suitable to perform all these Vrindavan Leela, these pastimes. Right? He came in form just suitable to show his Martya referring to human-like pastimes in the human society. Okay. That's the first point. And then further it comes and it says, Leela Upayikam, right, just suitable for his pastime. And how did he come? Swa Yoga Maya Balam. Right, so Swa Yoga Maya, he appears actually out of his own internal potency. Like in Bhagavad Gita, what is the verse that Krishna says? How does he actually appear? Atma Maya. By his own internal potency, he actually appears. So it's not subjected to any external potency. He actually comes out of his own sweet will. Then next one is Balam. Balam here referring to showing full capacity of his Yoga Maya. The highest, again, another word is also going to substantiate this, but Balam is actually showing the full capacity of his Yoga Maya. And then Darshayata, for manifesting, he actually revealed this form. So particularly the word Grihitam is actually used to actually say the Lord revealed this form. He did not accept this form to actually show a particular pastime. The Lord revealed this form just suitable for human-like pastimes here on this earth planet. Right? And then next, it says, third line says, Vishmapanam Swa Asya. Swa means referring to himself, right? So this is Vishmapanam. This is actually, this form is wonderful even to himself, right? Cha Sobha Grida. So Sobha Riddhe actually referring to opulence. Even his form filled with opulence. What is that? The form of Krishna in Vaikuntha. He's saying even the form of Krishna which is appearing, that is attractive even to the Lord of Vaikuntha. And that clearly says, if the form of Sham Sundar is attracted to the Lord of Vaikuntha, then who is superior? Who is superior? Right? That answers your question. And then further, it actually makes the point, Parampadam. This is the supreme ultimate form. Not the four-handed Vishnu form, the form of Krishna as two-handed Sham Sundar. And then there's a description of the form which says, Bhushana Bhushanangam. Right? Bhushana Bhushanangam means he is the ornament of all ornaments. or other meaning, his limbs beautify the ornaments he wears. So when we dress Radha Golokandan with all these beautiful ornaments, it's not that the ornaments are beautifying Krishna. It's Krishna is beautifying those ornaments because he is the ornament of all ornaments. Right? So very sweet verse. So, so you got the point. So first is Yan, he comes in his eternal form. Grihitam, he revealed his eternal form just suitable for Martya, for his human-like pastime. And how did he actually come? Swayoga, out of his own supreme will, right? He's not forced by anything, his own Yogamaya Shakti. Balam, this is actually the highest manifestation of the Yogamaya. And then Vishma Panam, this form is actually even attractive to Swa Asya, to his own form of opulence, which is the Lord of Vaikuntha. And then Parampadam, this is the highest form, and Bhushana, Bhushanangam. This is the ornament of all ornaments. Right? So such a beautiful description of the beauty of the Lord as Shyamsundar. So I'll just quickly share my screen. So this verse, this exact same verse, what we are discussing now, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually quotes this verse to Sanatan Goswami when he describes the beauty of the Lord. Right? So we'll just see a few verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting this exact same verse that we are discussing here. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, so you can see my screen. Right. So you see the same verses here. Yan Martya Leela Paikam Swa Yoga Maya Balam Darshayate Grihitam. So it's the same verse Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting to Sanatan Goswami to talk about the glories of the Lord. So this is CC Madhya 21:100. Okay. And then further he actually elaborates on this verse. And we'll just quickly go through a few verses here. He says, Lord Krishna has many pastimes, of which his pastimes as a human being are the best. That's what Uddhava is actually establishing. His form as a human being is a supreme transcendental form, right? We read that point here. How is it supreme? Parampadam, right? In this verse, Parampadam, a supreme transcendental form. In his form, he's a cowherd boy. He carries a flute in his hand. His youth is new. He's also an expert dancer. All this is just suitable for his pastimes as a human being. That Martya, the word Martya in this verse. And then further he says, my dear Sanatan, the sweet, attractive, transcendental form of Lord of Krishna is so nice. Just try to understand it. Even a fractional understanding of Krishna's beauty can merge all three worlds in an ocean of love. Even a fractional understanding of Krishna's beauty, this Shyamsundar will actually merge all the three worlds in an ocean of love. Right? And this transcendental form of Krishna is shown to the world by Krishna's internal spiritual energy. So that's basically in this verse was the word Swa Yoga Maya, right? Yoga Maya, right? Yoga Maya. The same verse is actually elaborated here. Internal. And this jewel-like form, like the Bhushana form, is the most confidential treasure of the devotees. And then further it says, this wonderful form of Krishna in his personal feature is so great that it attracts even Krishna to taste his own association. Indeed, Krishna becomes very eager to taste his own beauty, right? And hence he actually appears as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then here, Bhushanera Bhushanangam. Same words, what are this? So these next words that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually talking in CC is elaborating on this entire verse, is actually talking of different parts of this verse. And that's why CC is so beautiful, because we have Bhagavatam shloka and then shlokas to actually elaborate that. So here it says, Bhushanera Bhushan Angam. Ornaments carries that body, but the transcendent body of Krishna is so beautiful that it beautifies the ornaments that he wears. Right? Hence, Krishna's body is said to be ornament of ornaments. Right? Yeah, so beauty of Krishna is so attractive, it attracts not only the demigods, but also including Narayan, or expansion of Krishna's personality. The minds of Narayans are thus attracted to the beauty of Krishna's body. In addition, the goddess of fortune, who are wives of Narayan, are the women described in the Vedas most chaste, are also attracted by the beauty of Krishna. So even the Lakshmi Jis, they are attracted by Krishna's beauty. So this is the beauty of Krishna's form as Shyamsundar. And then one more proof to this is the pastime in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? You know this pastime of that of the Brahmana sons, how he was actually, as soon as the son was born, immediately he died. And then Arjun came and he said, I will protect your son. It's a duty of the king to protect, right? And then still the son died. And then Krishna and Arjun together, they actually go to Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu said, I was actually taking these sons. Why? Because I wanted to see the beautiful form of Lord Shri Krishna. So even Mahavishnu is actually attracted. So here in this 10th canto, 89, text 58, it says, Judatma me yuvayor didakshuna mayo panita. So it says, I have brought the Brahmana sons here because I wanted to see the two of you who have descended to the earth to save the principles of religion. Right? So even Vishnu wants to see this form of Krishna. Okay. Okay, so that's the main point here. And then another proof of this in Bhagavad Gita we see when Krishna shows the Virat Rupa, and then after that what happens? Krishna actually, when Krishna says, oh, Arjun says, my mind is now bewildered. I've seen this form, but I want to see what? Your Soumya Rupa. And then Krishna shows what? Four-handed, and then he shows his original two-handed form. And Prabhupada clearly makes that point in the purport, that the two-handed form, that's to keep everyone awake. You have all balloons coming. The two-handed form is actually, in that purpose, Prabhupada says, four-handed and then two-handed. And he says the two-handed form is actually the most beautiful form of Krishna. And that's why in that shloka in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, this is the most difficult form to actually see. Even demigods cannot see this form of Krishna. So even there, the proof is there that Krishna's form as two-handed Krishna is actually the highest form of Krishna. Right? So there should be no doubt about this. We have so much explanation here. Saumya Vapu, Krishna says in 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay.
Prabhuji, while I was reading last week, we went to 3.123 verse. In that also it says that Lord Krishna being the original Vishnu form, and he has only one emblem as chakra. But we don't see that, right? That's why the chakra is on top of the temples everywhere to remind, even though it's a Vishnu temple, internally he's Krishna. We couldn't understand that, Prabhuji. Maybe later we can explain.
3.123?
Yeah, 3.123.
Okay. We'll come to that maybe later. I'll just continue. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And Prabhupada also makes a point in the purport. He says, he talks of Aprakat and Prakat Leela. Right? The Lord actually, one way, never leaves Vrindavan. He's always present as two-handed form in Vrindavan, in the Aprakat Leela. And then Prabhupada says, the form manifested is transcendental par excellence. The form of Krishna as Shamsundar Krishna, Prabhupada describes as transcendence par excellence. The most excellent form of transcendence is Shamsundar Krishna. Right. And also we know in Nectar of Devotion, right? What does it say? Like Rupa Goswami says 64 qualities of Krishna. And then he says, well, even Narayan has only 60 of those qualities, but 4 qualities are only in Shamsundar Krishna. What are those 4?
Venumadhuri, Rupamadhuri, Premamadhuri, Leela Madhuri.
Perfect. Right. So these 4 are unique in Krishna himself. Okay. So, okay. So text 13.
Yadha Sunor Bhatarajasuye Niriksha Driksvastyaya Nam Triloka Kartsnyena Chadyeha Gatam Vidhatur Arvaks Shrito Koshalam Ityamanyata.
All the demigods from the upper, lower, and middle universally planetary systems assembled at the altar of the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthir. After seeing the beautiful bodily features of the Lord Krishna, they all contemplated that he was the ultimate dexterous creation of Brahma, the creator of human beings.
Yeah. So now he's saying, oh, Vidura, you have seen this form of Krishna. Right? So yeah, that form of Krishna. And when did you see it? And then he's saying, Dharma Suna. He's particularly saying in this arena of the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Dharma Suna, referring to Maharaj Yudhishthir. So when Maharaj Yudhishthir performed the Rajasuya sacrifice, and in that assembly, Krishna was selected as the best personality to give the first offering of the Rajasuya sacrifice, right? And then in that assembly, he's saying, Vidura, you saw this form of Krishna. And at that time, when all the different, here particularly it says, 3 loka, all the demigods from the upper, middle, lower planetary systems, when they saw Drika, they saw that form of Krishna, then what did they say? Swasti Ayanam. It was so beautiful. Swasti Ayanam means such an auspicious, Swasti we say as auspicious, right? Such an auspicious form of Krishna, so beautiful that they concluded that this is Vidhatuhu, the creator of Brahma, Kaushalam Amanyate. This is actually the best creation of Brahma in this entire universe. Because, certainly, like they are comparison, demigods are coming and seeing the form of Krishna and saying, oh, this is the best creation of Brahma. There can be nothing more superior to this. And Prabhupada elaborates on the purport. Actually, that is, it's not that Brahma created this form of Krishna. It is, but the demigods are saying, oh, everything in this material world fades in beauty in comparison to this form of Krishna. And hence he actually says, the skill of the creator, Brahma, in constructing all these varieties in this world have been nullified just by seeing the beauty of Krishna's limbs. Okay. And now, if you see in this material world, like a lotus, right? Krishna is compared to lotus, right? Or if you see a blue sapphire, Krishna's color is compared to blue sapphire. Or if you see a rain cloud, all those things. Now, when you see those things, you get disgusted with that. Oh, what is their beauty compared to Krishna's beauty? But Krishna is actually compared to lotus, blue sapphire, and rain cloud because that is the maximum limit that we can actually go to see, to understand Krishna's glories. But actually, when one really sees the form of Krishna, he says all these items are just insignificant in front of Krishna's beauty, right? So seeing the beauty of Krishna's face, they think, what is the use of this lotus? What is the use of blue sapphire? What is the use of the moon? Krishna's beauty is just excellent, beyond all these. That is the realization of anyone who sees the form of Krishna. So Prabhupada says, nothing can compare to the bodily features of Krishna. We actually have these comparisons of lotus flower so that we can develop a mood of appreciation. But Krishna's form is actually beyond all this. And then that's why the form of Krishna is so beautiful. And hence, what does Rupa Goswami actually say? The share my screen again quickly.
The Sri Krishna Namad. Is that what?
Okay, that's one verse. But here in Chaitanya Charitamrita in CC Adi 5-24, this is what Rupa Goswami says, that the form of Krishna is so beautiful that he says, Smeram Bhangi Traya Paricham Sachi Vistina Dishtin. And then the verse goes on and basically says, my dear friend, if you are indeed attached to your worldly friends, do not look at the smiling face of Lord Govinda as he stands on the bank of the Yamuna at Keshi Ghat, casting sidelong glances. He places his flute to his lips, which seem like newly blossomed twigs. His transcendent body, bending in 3 places, appears very bright in the moonlight. He's actually, Rupa Goswami is saying in the opposite way. He's saying, if you see Krishna's beauty, then you'll forget everything in this material world. So similarly here, this verse is saying, if you see Krishna's beauty, then even that lotus, what you see here, will seem not beautiful at all. Okay, and also we have this beautiful bhajan where you say, like, Adharam Madhuram, Vadanam Madhuram, Nayanam Madhuram, Hasitam Madhuram, Hridayam Madhuram, Gamanam Madhuram, Madhuradipate, Akilam Madhuram. So it's beautiful. This entire bhajan is the sweetness of this form of Krishna as Shyam Sundar Krishna. And then also, Nectar of Devotion, chapter 21. This is all like beautiful description of the form of Krishna, and this is important for us to read, meditate, and get attracted. Once we get attracted to the form of Krishna, that's it. Our life is successful, right? So in chapter 21 of NOD, in the first 3 qualities of the 64 qualities of Krishna, the first one is what? Beautiful bodily features. Right? And in this, Rupa Goswami is saying that in any comparison of the different parts of the Lord's body to different material objects cannot factually be a complete comparison. Right? That's the thing. And then auspicious characteristics. So first, second quality also is all about the beauty, right? It says, my dear king of the cowherds, I can find 32 auspicious symptoms on the body of your son. I'm wondering how this boy could have taken birth in a family of cowherdmen. And then this boy has reddish luster in 7 places. His eyes, end of his hands, the end of his legs, his palate, his lips, his tongue, and his nails. All of them are compared to reddish lotuses. And so on. So beautiful and pleasing. The beautiful body features which automatically attract the eyes are called ruchira, pleasing. Krishna possesses the attractive feature of ruchira in his personal features. Right? Okay. And so on. So here actually described in 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, text 30. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in his pleasing dress appeared at the scene of the sacrificial arena when King Yudhishthira was performed the Rajasuya sacrifice. So same point is there in 3:12, 3:2:30. That's exactly the verse we are discussing. So the same verse is actually quoted here in Nectar of Devotion. So Rupa Goswami is quoting this verse in Nectar of Devotion to show how the form of the Lord is so pleasing. Okay. So next verse.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, what is the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila you mentioned?
5:24.
5:24. Okay. Thank you.
Next verse.
Yes. Yasyanuraga Prutaha Sarasa Lila Valoka Pratilabdamana Brajastriyo Drigbhir Anu Pravritta Dhiyo Vatastu Kila Kritta Shesha. Venkat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The damsels of Vraja, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with a stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so now this is a 3rd verse talking about beauty of Krishna, and it's saying like, who is the personalities who can really relish the beauty of Krishna? Krishna is so beautiful, but who can really relish that beauty of Krishna? And it says the devotees who can best relish that beauty of Krishna is the gopis of Vrindavan. So Uddhav is actually, because he actually went to Vrindavan as a messenger of Krishna, and he saw all the gopis, and he actually had a glimpse of that love of the gopis for Krishna. And he's actually saying, well, it is the gopis of Vrindavan who actually have really relished these pastimes of Krishna and this beauty of Krishna. And how do they relish it? Hasa, laughter; rasa, humors; lila, pastime; avaloka, dancing. So these damsels of Vraja, after pastimes of laughter, humor, exchange of glances, were anguished when Krishna actually left them. They used to follow him with their eyes. The beauty was so beautiful form of Krishna. When Krishna used to leave, the eyes of the gopis used to follow Krishna wherever Krishna is going. And then if they were milking the cow, or they were actually feeding the babies, or whatever they're doing, as soon as Krishna left, they think of the form of Krishna, they just become stunned. Like how Uddhav was stunned for one murat, they just become stunned. And whatever they're doing, they just stop there, just thinking about the beauty of Krishna. That is how the gopis are appreciating this beauty of Krishna. They stopped all their activities, whether they're cleaning, they're smearing cow dung, they were churning the yogurt, they were serving food. It was almost like paralysis, that they just stopped, just thinking of the beautiful form of Krishna. Right? And then the another word here that is actually used is anurag. Right? If you remember previously, we talked of the different kinds of prema bhakti. And then in those different kinds of prema bhaktis, we said there's rati, prema, sneha. Sneha was Uddhav. Then man, pranaya, rag, anurag. Right? Anurag. Then bhav and mahabhav. So that anurag, that kind of love is actually exhibited by the gopis of Vrindavan. It's said that the devotees who are more in Shantadas, they come to rati and prema. Then those who are in servitorship, they actually come to rag. Those who are in Sakhya and Vatsalya, they actually experience Anurag. And The gopis are the highest, where they experience bhav and mahabhav. So all these 8 kinds of devotion are exhibited by devotees at different rasas. Right? So here it is particularly talking of anurag, which is just before bhav and mahabhav. So these gopis have that anurag for Krishna. And then Prabhupada in the purport, he actually talks about this, that the gopis have so much love for Krishna, and that's why they have served Krishna with so much devotion that Krishna actually fails to fulfill his words in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna makes this promise in the Gita. What does it say? Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tatheva bhajami. How devotees serve me, I will reciprocate accordingly. But with the gopis, their love for Krishna is so deep, that what does Krishna say?
Cannot repay even in my
Thank you. Yes.
whole life.
So here you see, 10:30 to 22. That you say, Na pariyaham niravadya samyuja. So this is the verse that Krishna finally says. This is at the end of the almost the Ras Leela pastime. Actually, after Krishna disappears from the Ras Leela, before the second Ras Leela starts, he actually says, I'm not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. So Krishna fails to repay the love of the gopis. And that these gopis, they can really relish the beauty of Krishna to the highest extent. Right? And then Prabhupada says that Krishna does not leave Vrindavan. Vrindavan paritajya padam ekam na gachati. He does not leave Vrindavan. Why? Because the love of the gopis have tied Krishna in their hearts. So Krishna is unable to even leave Vrindavan. Okay. And then this verse also says that how when Krishna leaves, then it causes anguish in the hearts of the gopis. And in Gopi Gita, we read 10:31:10. Prahasitam priye prema vikshanam viharanam chate dhyana mangalam rahasi samvido yaridi sprisha kuhakano mana shopayantihi. Right? So this Gopi Gita, we know this verse. It says the smiles, the sweet loving glances of Krishna, the intimate pastimes, the confidential talks. That's what this verse talks about, right? It says the smile, the glances, the pastimes, the talks we enjoy with you. All these are auspicious to meditate upon. But at the same time, O deceiver, they very much agitate our minds because Krishna has left them. Then Atiti Yad Bhavan, the other verse, where it actually says, when you go off to the forest, a tiny fraction of a second becomes a millennium for us because we cannot see you. Okay? And that's when they say, they actually imagine relishing the beauty of Krishna so much that they think that when we blink our eye, that is a hindrance to see the form of Krishna. And they're cursing Brahma. What is Brahma? He has created these eyelids which cannot relish. Imagine how much the gopis are actually. Anyway, we cannot imagine. We cannot imagine. But this is the extent how the gopis are relishing the beauty of Krishna. So see Uddhav so nicely. He started off by describing the form, the beauty of Krishna's form, and bringing it to the point of the gopis' appreciation of the beauty of Krishna. Like we blink. How many times a minute we blink? There's a particular number. We keep blinking our eyes. Every 6 seconds or 7 seconds, we blink our eyes, right? And we don't even notice it, right? Who notices a blink? But see the gopis. They are saying, oh, this blink, that fraction of a moment, that is already a problem. We cannot see Krishna. How much they are relishing the form of Krishna. That's the gopis' love for Krishna. Okay? So we have to stop here. We'll have to go ahead, but so this section is a third section where it talks of the beauty of Krishna. Right? So we covered 3 sections. Next time we'll cover the last 2 sections of this chapter. Okay. So any comments, questions, realizations?
Can you repeat the rasas and the 9?
I'll just share my screen for you. Share the screen. So it's the same verse that I showed earlier. This is Madhya chapter 20. Bhakti Shabdera Artha Hoy Das Vidakar Eka Sadhana Prema Bhakti Nava Prakar. So 9 kinds of Prema Bhakti. So if you see here, so there's Rati Prema Sneha. So neutrality, Shantaras, they actually come to the stage of Prema. Right? Then Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Raga. So Savita, Dasya, they come to the stage of Raga. Sakhya and Vatsalya, Anuraga. Actually, they say Sakhya is Anuraga, and to the end of Anuraga is Vatsalya. Right? To the limits of Anuraga is Vatsalya. And then Bhava and Mahabhav is only Madhurya. And then the embodiment of Mahabhav is Srimati Radharani. Okay. Okay. Any comments, questions, realizations?
Yeah, Prabhu, one thing. I wanted to know, so Krishna was there 5,000, 6,000 years before. But before that, how did the humanity know about the Parabrahma or Supreme God Lord?
Yeah, so Krishna is always eternally present. So that's the point that we are discussing, that he's always there in Vaikuntha, right? He's always there in Goloka Vrindavan. But how did these personalities before Krishna's appearance know about Krishna? That is, it's revealed in the Shastras. The Acharyas always reveal the beauty of Krishna's form. And Krishna is eternally present. So the Acharyas, Shastra, all these devotees, they reveal the beauty of Krishna, so that even before Krishna's appearance in this particular Chaturvyuha, they still know about the glories of Krishna, his beauty and so on. Is that your question, Prabhu?
Actually, I wanted to know, like, humans before Mahabharata, how did they pray or knew about the Supreme Lord? That was my question. Like, we know now Krishna is there at Supreme Lord, but before Mahabharata, whoever were there, how did they pray to Supreme Lord?
Yeah, so that's my answer, is that Krishna's form anyway is eternal, right? It's not that he's just coming now. Even before Krishna appeared, his form is always there in Goloka Vrindavan. He's always there in the spiritual world, showing his pastime. But those pastimes are revealed through the Shastras, through the devotees, you know. So even though Krishna may not have appeared, we made the point. How does Krishna actually appear for devotees? He appears in the heart of the devotee. And there are always devotees present in this world. Even before Krishna's appearance, there are devotees of Krishna. And then when they are worshipping the form of Krishna according to Shastra, and when they come to a stage of love, then the pastimes of Krishna, the beauty of Krishna is manifested in the heart of the devotees. And that they reveal it to people who are actually qualified. So Krishna is eternally present. It's, it does not matter that, oh, now he's appeared. Before that, who they were worshipping? Well, before that, again, Krishna appeared in the previous Treta Yuga. Right? Before that, Krishna appeared in the previous Treta Yuga. So it's always, Krishna is always there. So for us, we don't see like a linear time. Oh, Krishna appeared here, and hence there's worshipping here. It is almost like a cycle, a cyclic time, because it's Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga. Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga. So if you're in Dwapar Yuga, from previous Treta Yuga, you're after that, right? So it's going round and round and round and round. So hence the presence of Krishna is always there. It's revealed by devotees, and there is no question of linear time. It is always cyclic.
Okay. Yeah, and Prabhu, I saw that sometimes you are making victory gestures, and that time balloons are coming up, it looks like.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see.
It's like birthday.
And then there's the new OS has something. They have something like, see, this is all to wake you all up from Bhagavatam sleeping. Okay. Any other comment before we end?
Prabhupada is writing in the purport of text 14 that the affection of the damsels of Raja is even greater than the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva.
Yes. And that's why this entire thing about prema actually comes into the stage of Anurag. Yes.
When you are giving so much nectar, how can we sleep, Prabhuji?
Anything else? Anyone? Anything else?
I also like that Krishna is the ornament of all ornaments, and he beautifies the ornaments that he wears. We can meditate on that when dressing the deities. They're just like look ordinary, but when they go on Krishna, then they become beautiful.
It's very nice. Thank you.
We had one thought, Prabhuji. Our eyes were created by the Lord, and like when we look at a beautiful sunset or sunrise, or we try to, oh, this is so beautiful, and I grab my phone and take a picture. After some time, I go and look at it. It's like nothing compared to what I saw. The difference between, like you said, we can never imagine how we can only compare it to Blue Lotus or whatever, but what he really looks like, there is no comparison. That was my feeling.
That's
Prabhuji,
why
I was
Rupa Goswami is actually making the point. Once you see the form of Krishna, you'll forget everything in this material world. And that's why Rupa Goswami is saying, if you still want to, have those material attachments, don't see the form, because once you see, that's it. That's the beauty of Lord. And we all aspire to have that one glimpse of that form of Krishna, that real form of Krishna, and by which our heart is always attracted to that beauty of the form of Krishna.
Prabhuji, I was listening in a lecture that just like a young girl is attracted to a boy, or a boy is attracted to a young girl, similarly, when we go in front of the deity, in front of Shri Radha Glokananda, stare at them, stare at the beauty of
Yeah, and we always start from where? The lotus feet, and then go up. Like we discussed that point, right? When Virat Rupa, how does Sukadeva Goswami start? Lotus feet. So when you're meditating on the form of the Lord, first meditate on the lotus feet, and then gradually we go up. Okay. Any other final points? I will stop here.
Yes, Prabhuji, we're talking about the verse 12, ornaments. So last chapter we were discussing about the last canto, about the Ashraya points. Like Ashraya, the Lord is Ashraya, and then it's like other 9 things are not that important, but they're just supporting as Ashraya. So the ornaments are compared. The Lord doesn't need any ornaments. They are beautiful, but they are beautified when they are used for Krishna's service.
I mean, that's a nice comparison. The remaining 9 points are actually nectarian because they actually lead to the 10th point of Ashraya. Similarly, all the others, everything different. Nice, thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you all so much. So next time we'll finish chapter 2. So thank you all so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyavacha patitanam pavane Vaishnava.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Dhanwad.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji.